My friend is out of control. She ruined my wedding. You ruined my dream journal.
That's OP's friend if they were an automobile.
I, 31 female, have been friends with someone I'm going to call Mia, 31 female, since before I knew my husband, 31 male. Everyone's 31. We were more friends by association who liked to go out during college breaks, but got a lot closer when we both needed a roommate and decided to move in together. By the way, this comes from Dangerous Noise 7356 on the r/Oki Storytime subreddit. So, I didn't have any other options except someone random, and at the time, we were in our going out phase, so we had a lot of fun times. Mia has always made some questionable decisions regarding booze and boys. I want to clarify and say I've definitely made bad choices too, but I really try to learn from them. Mia did some things I would never do, like knowingly being the other woman. But I tried really hard not to judge her because I'm just not that kind of friend. As I progressed in my relationship with my future husband, Mia and I started growing apart. I started going out less and less. I was no longer enjoying drinking booze, and my capacity for socializing and staying up late had reduced dramatically. Mia still lived and loves that lifestyle. Again, no judgment. I do start to get a little judgy when you're wasted and dramatic actions cause problem for others, yourself and myself. I had learned to never stay out too late with her or I would become her designated babysitter.
That is a very, very fair thing to, I mean, I think judge is one word, but also just like to have a reaction to that's just like, oh, are you serious? Like, now we got to deal with this version of you.
Some things I dealt with when we lived together was her vomiting every weekend morning, her trying to crawl into bed with me and my husband, her sisters calling me, trying to find her wandering the streets at 4 a.m., and providing her with tons of emotional support as she knowingly continued to make decisions she shouldn't have. It was getting really hard to have any empathy for her. I watched as she moved from friend group to friend group, burning bridges every step of the way. She ended a friendship because she refused to believe a guy she liked hit on that friend. She was kicked out of a wedding party and disinvited from the wedding. She demanded constant care and attention, but never really tried to reciprocate. My husband's friends didn't like her. Some of my friends didn't like her, but tolerated her for me. So many red flags that I chose to ignore. Fast forward to me getting engaged. The first time we hung out after she wastedly asked me to be a bridesmaid, to which I laughed off and hoped that she wouldn't remember asking. I knew I could never have her as a bridesmaid. Bridesmaids are your closest, most trusted friends to help you through a couple of really stressful but also amazing days. I knew Mia was not capable of being there for me the way I needed. I decided to only have my 2 closest friends and blamed it on keeping things small. Even thinking about her as a bridesmaid made me anxious because she's so used to me catering to her. She did go on my bachelorette, where she also caused me stress. She was upset she couldn't sit with me and my friend whose flight we booked together. She's just very immature, like a high schooler who's used to getting her way. It was an hour flight. We had trouble understanding why that was a big deal for her. She's flown alone a lot for work. Through most of the bachelorette trip, I had to gentle parent her. She was always asking questions or worried. It was clear she had some anxiety issues, but to my knowledge, she has never tried to get professional support. I would literally have to say things like, "Oh no, that's no fun. What do you think you can do about it?" She tries to put her anxiety on others to find answers, and let me tell you, I did not have the time or energy for that. Fast forward to closer to the wedding, she starts seeing a man whose age cannot be identified, but a good 10 to 20 years older, we think. This man loved to go out and loved to act like a big timer, and he had money. Now, I'm not sure he's like loaded, but he's an older single white guy, so he's good. He starts taking her to places like New York, Kansas City, the Era Tours, rooftop bars, nice dinners, etc. I was a little concerned for her being a sugar baby situation, but she said she was happy and having fun, and again, who was I to judge? I asked about their spicy life, and she told me their relationship isn't about that. Whatever that means, but okay. Fine, that's private. The only reason I ask is because we've been really open and candid with each other about things like that prior. So the wedding is coming up, and all of mine and Mia's mutual friends can't come to my wedding, so she had no one to go with. So I did what I felt was right and invited her partner to the wedding because it was a destination wedding, about a 7-hour drive. I did not know this man, and it was a small wedding, but I wouldn't want to go to a wedding alone either. He couldn't come because of not having time off work, is what I was told. At that point, Her social anxiety is spinning out of control, and she starts asking me a ton of questions about the wedding. Like, who's coming? Where to go? Who can she ride with? Again, in the theme of gentle parenting, I said, I don't know, babe. That sucks. I'm sorry. But here are some people you can reach out to. I refuse to get sucked into making arrangements for her. At this point, it may sound like I'm a crappy friend to a person that is clearly struggling, but let me explain. I work as a mental health therapist who understands that boundaries are the key to healthy relationships. I had boundaries with Mia before I even knew what they were. I, at the same time of all of this, was dealing with PTSD symptoms because a family member used my wedding to start drama that they can be bitter about for the next 10 years. I was not okay. The little energy I had went into trying to be able to show up to my wedding and have a good time despite all the triggers I was experiencing. So I was probably not a good friend, but I felt like I did all I could within the circumstances. Also, I feel like, you don't necessarily, like, if you're not going to have a good time at a wedding, you don't have to go through with like a big wedding. But you've already done it, so it's not like...
We all know how I feel about it.
We
or
do.
we should at this point.
Secret wedding.
Secret wedding first, and then you
Secret,
can have the
secret
big
wedding.
wedding, and everyone can be annoying, and you can be like, you know what? Oh my God, I don't even have to care because I already had my wedding.
I had also tried to suggest counseling to Mia. Okay, never mind. It seems like OP has kind of.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But she never seemed to take it seriously. So with her anxiety in full force, she starts badgering my friends whose contacts I gave her. Most already had plans and were couples, but she was extremely persistent to the point that the nicest human/best friend I have ever met said, I wanted to say something like, I'm not here for you, Mia, this weekend. I'm here for the bride. One of my maid of honor's partners couldn't come, so they drove together and decided to share a room. Seemed like a great solution. So the week before the wedding, she's texting me constantly as I navigated a crisis within my family / was getting ready for my wedding.
Oh, wow. That's a lot.
She asked me to a movie months in the future, to which I said, sure, but because I literally couldn't deal with it. This does matter later.
You're like, yeah, sure, whatever. Yeah.
Okay.
We'll do that.
Yeah.
Would you love me if I was a worm? Yeah, I would. Whatever. It doesn't matter. Yes.
Moving on. So the day of the rehearsal dinner rolls around. My husband and I are frantically trying to make sure everyone is bedding. We stayed in these cabin-like vacation homes. She rolls in, singing and skipping while I'm literally panicking about family stuff and the accommodations. I knew myself well enough that I knew I needed some space from her and texted my maid of honor to ensure Mia doesn't stress me out further. This is when things truly escalate. This all before was vaguely annoying, but whatever. No one is perfect, everyone has their things, and she hadn't done anything egregious. Mia starts panicking about how to get to the welcome party / rehearsal dinner after party. I don't know when this became the norm, but it seemed mandatory to host one for the destination wedding. My maid of honor was going early because she was in the rehearsal / invited to the rehearsal dinner, which was close family and the wedding party only. Mia told maid of honor she was going to ask me if she could just ride down with me. And maid of honor specifically told her not to bother me about that. At least you have a good maid of honor.
Yeah. That is true.
Mia did anyways. That was my last text from her for months afterwards. I didn't reply. I just couldn't. There's only 70 other people here, all headed to the same place. You'll be fine. I do actually start to feel bad. It must be hard to be at a wedding knowing hardly anyone. Most of the weddings I've been to, but okay. And not having someone to have dinner with. I totally get that and so appreciated she cared enough for me to put herself through that.
Nice. Okay, so OP's a little bitter.
Yeah, OP's like, I'm
just
so
a little bitter.
appreciative.
Just a little unsweetened licorice here.
However, there were things that would happen later that were not okay. My husband's friends and family are all so welcoming and inviting, we knew it wouldn't really be a huge issue. She got a ride and she made it to the party. She came wasted and ready to party. She pre-gamed the wedding.
That's a problem. She needs help. She needs help. She's got problems.
I knew exactly what happened without being there. At dinner with hubby's friends who probably ordered double shot drinks and Mia loving booze and feeling socially anxious, just started throwing the back. So she comes in wasted and does the, oh, hi, I love you, wasted girl thing all over to me, to which my friends immediately swoop in to distract her. I actually have a really funny okay story time about that. But I'll wait until we get to a stopping point.
Okay.
The torture.
She actually starts ordering double Grey Goose on the rock at our open bar, using a significant portion of the amount allotted for the night. Then she starts telling people how her and her boyfriend were looking at rings and thinking about getting married. I don't know if my bridezilla was showing, but I just felt like that's a tacky thing to bring up at someone's wedding. It was giving, I'm not the main character today, so how can I get some attention? It was even more ridiculous of a brag when she then started hitting on some of the single guys. These are people she knew and had met before. They're my husband's friends. She had never expressed any interest in the main two guys she was hitting on.
That's a weird thing to maybe be cringy at.
Also,
right?
literally right after you said that you're thinking about getting married to someone and then you're hitting on people.
Yeah, like she meant like someone.
She's like,
I don't mean anyone specifically.
My boyfriend in the future and I are thinking about, I don't have a boyfriend currently, but like in the future I will have one.
Like
and
that guy right over there, he might be that guy.
At one point, my husband and I are talking to my aunt and uncle, who I hadn't seen in years, and she throws herself all over my husband to ask, who's single? And then OP says, not you, remember? You're looking at rings with older gentlemen. Oh, right. The boyfriend who's kind of the boyfriend that was kind of like a sugar daddy situation.
And he sounds like this, for real. He really sounds like this.
It was just so cringe and sad to watch. I literally swerved away from her because I was at my limit. Then she starts to get so visibly wasted that some of our other guests had to put her in a car and drive her back. Get her out of there.
Yeah, get her out of there.
I'm not around for what happens next, but I was told by maid of honor. Mia gets back and starts losing her mind, calling her boyfriend, threatening to cheat, having literal screaming matches over the phone in the room she shared with maid of honor before calling her sister, sobbing, and vomiting in the shared bathroom for a long time when others were trying to get ready for bed. Yikes.
Well, you can't really blame her. I mean, you can blame her for that. At some point, her actions were guaranteed that outcome, but
yikes.
Yeah, it's like you'd rather her be doing it in there than anywhere else.
That's true.
Let's be honest.
She even took the trash can out of the bathroom to keep near her bed. Oh, well, that's fair.
That's a bad night.
Yeah. The secondhand embarrassment I feel is so strong, and I'm embarrassed to have a friend like that who is so inconsiderate to my other friends. That's just not okay in my book. Anyone that noticed her the night before was like, is she okay? We're concerned. The only answer, she does this all the time. She could go pro in getting sloppy wasted. This was definitely the worst of it. I was so upset at how she had been treating my friends, as if they need to babysit this 31-year-old woman. My friend, a few years younger, drove alone, stayed alone, and did it all herself without knowing a soul. Love you, girl. And she was perfectly fine. The next morning, she woke up in her shared room with maid of honor. Maid of honor, being kind and lovely, asks if she wants to talk about last night. Mia apparently said something along the lines of, why? Nothing happened. I think she was just in complete denial about her behavior, or just like didn't remember anything.
Or she's just like, this is just how this is a normal way to be.
What are you talking about? That's just how me and my boyfriend say I love you.
That was like, what do you guys don't do that once a week?
I've seen it happen before with all of her ex-friends. She is never in the wrong. Everything is always about other people. And zero accountability for her actions. The wedding day, she was quiet. She just said hi to us as she passed us getting ready. She came to the wedding where I sat her next to people she knew, and she acted like everything was fine. She posted one picture of our table setting saying, congrats, bride and groom. Literally capital letters or no punctuation or any indication she was genuinely happy for us.
It was just like, and she really phoned in the congratulations.
Yeah. I ended up having the best day of my life and had the best time dancing the night away with my new husband, friends, and family. At one point in the night, I had to go back to our main house to use the restroom, and Mia stopped my maid of honor, asking her to look for a plunger because she clogged a toilet. Karma, is that you, girl? My maid of honor had to basically ignore her and tell her to figure it out. She was literally carrying my dress into my room. Her and my maid of honor drove home in silence, quite the opposite of the ride there where she talked the entire time to my not as chatty maid of honor. All she said to my maid of honor was, sorry, I'm not talking more. I'm really tired. Maid of honor was fine. So after all of this, she doesn't reach out to me for months. I hadn't expected her to. Again, being familiar with the ways all of her friendships have ended, I knew she wasn't the type to address it. I honestly thought that was it for our friendship. I was sad. I enjoyed spending time with her, doing things besides drinking. She was funny and lively and liked a good time. I've definitely been lonelier since, but I am happier to not be giving this friendship any more energy. I was surprised 2 months after the wedding, she texted me about the movie we had planned before the wedding to see.
Well, at least she's thoughtful.
Yeah. She's like, remember what we said months ago?
Are you someone who doesn't keep their promises?
It was literally, hi, are you driving to the movie or do you want to go together? Like day of? Like an hour before the movie? She's like, hey, see you at the movies. As if nothing had happened or the fact we haven't spoken in months. I was flabbergasted. I responded the only way I could, honestly. I told her I was upset with her behavior at the wedding and needed space, but I would happily Venmo her for the ticket so she could take someone else. Her response to that was that she was also upset and needed space. I didn't even try to think of a reply to that. That told me everything I needed to know, which was there was no talking rationally with this person about her behavior. I had seen the pattern play out so many times, but for whatever reason, I thought our friendship was different, and it wasn't. It honestly was a long time coming, but still hard, especially with how hard it is to make new friends as an adult. She actually ended up getting engaged to the older gentleman in Paris in front of the Eiffel Tower about a month after she texted me. Cool. It honestly...
Cool.
It honestly makes me sad for her because I could tell she wasn't happy. She liked the life he gave her, but I was having a hard time believing she was genuinely attracted to him or interested in him because he was basically the opposite of the guy she usually went for. And her trying to get with other dudes at my wedding really proved that to me. I feel like she's getting trapped in this marriage of convenience. The timing of all of this is super coincidental too. She had gotten kicked out of another friend's wedding not long ago and was not asked to be a bridesmaid for my wedding, and she had another friend getting married right after me. Was this wedding envy? I mean, I totally get it. I have wedding envy, but to not be able to put your own selfishness aside to truly celebrate your friend is not cool. It's also not a reason to get engaged to someone just so you can have a wedding and continue to be the main character. Again, this might give off bridezilla vibes, but it seriously felt like she couldn't even let me be the center of attention for just those 2 days. Those are the only 2 days I ever truly felt like I could make decisions based on me and my happiness, instead of caring for everyone else. I want to have kids. I'll never have that again. It'll hurt so badly that the people closest to me were the cause of so much pain and grief for me that weekend. I lost this friend, and now this is a story I actually love telling because it's ridiculous and we laugh through the tears. But you know what will make you laugh? Listening to more episodes of stories just like this. Just go to Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or iHeartRadio and search Poke Storytime. The other things I lost that weekend, I'm still in therapy for over a year later. A much longer, more intense story. I can only be grateful for all of it because I truly learned how to love and be loved my wedding weekend. And it's helped me grow so much more than I knew I could. I'm happier and healthier than ever, and I'm super happy and in love with my husband. We hope to start a family in the next couple of years. I wish that same happiness for Mia if she ever finds the strength to look at herself in the mirror. And that is the end of that story.
I want to cut my toxic friend off after my wedding. She lied about being my maid of honor.
Wait, how do you lie about that?
We'll find out. So I, 25 female, had a friend named Mary, 25 female, that I cut off the day after my wedding last week. I had met Mary through a mutual friend a few years back. We lived in the same town and became good friends. By the way, this comes from Where is Ermito on the r/OK Storytime subreddit. So we would talk a lot, hang out, and even went on a trip together. She even called me her best friend. But ever since she acted the way she did at my wedding, I've been seeing everything she did in a completely different light.
Wow.
I
need to speak to HR.
Could you guys hear that on the stream? Could you hear the crash? The resounding crash bang slam of all that motion back there?
I played baseball, so that again,
Dude,
there's a
it's
reason
still got
why
that
it's like
baseball
this.
booty.
Yeah, there's a reason why it's why
So,
it's like this. Go back
I
to the
didn't
story.
really start to notice until I met and started dating my husband. He's a great guy who really wanted to like her, but he didn't. He was always nice to her whenever she was around, but he couldn't stand her. She was entitled, rude, and self-absorbed. She tokenized people of color. She always seemed to have some kind of justification for her crappy behavior. She always seemed to have some kind of complaint about her friends.
She sounds like real fun.
She sounds absolutely awful.
She sounds like the brightest light in the room, like the bright, harsh white light that you just want to get out of your eyes.
But he couldn't stand her. She was entitled, rude, tokenized. She always seemed to have some kind of complaint about her friends. Things didn't really start to take a turn in our friendship until I got engaged. We decided we wanted to get married in another state so that my husband's family could be there. Because of this, I didn't put any pressure on my friends to be there because I knew the flight would be pricey. However, she was insistent on going so that she could be a bridesmaid. However, I had no intention of asking. She pressured me into making her one. So this friend that has been terrible has now, I guess, successfully hoodwinked OP into her being part of the wedding party.
Yeah, what it's just kind of she vamoosed with the
bamboozled
the title.
her way in.
Yeah, she
bamboozled.
bamboozled OP into making her maid of honor.
Put your foot down.
Don't get bamboozled by this
bamboozled.
lady.
Yeah, you have a very special spell that can prevent this kind of thing from happening.
Well, I don't think she
just
knew.
say no.
I don't think she knew how nefarious this friend was yet.
I don't think. Well, maybe
Now she said that after the wedding is when she realized, like, I'm looking at everything differently now. So it was after the wedding that she had the realization of, oh, this person might actually not be a friend of mine. This person might just suck.
Well, she said, I didn't really start to notice until I met and started dating my husband. So this is before the wedding.
Multiple points of realization here.
Yeah, this was before the wedding. So
yeah, OP say no.
OP, no.
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 9. So then when I was trying to decide what to have my bridesmaids wear, she turned it into an entire discussion so that whatever was worn would be something she would like. Even though what I wanted was to have something simple that would allow for my bridesmaids to all find something they liked, but still maintain uniformity. I eventually settled on everyone wearing a maxi dress in the same shade of green, but she immediately took issue with the length of the dress because she didn't like it.
What is a maxi dress? I don't know this.
Keon?
I'll look it
I'm
up.
unfamiliar with
Maxi
your
dress.
game.
Can you show it on screen?
Yeah, you should go reading. Go continue reading. I'll look up
Maxi dress. I want to know what that is. I'm guessing one of those like skin tight dresses.
Yeah,
things.
I'm guessing short.
Short.
It sounds
I'm guessing
short.
It sounds short.
Yeah.
But also maxi kind of sounds long. Frenchie Revolution says it's like a form-fitting dress.
Maxi is long.
Is long
and
but
form-fitting.
Keep reading.
No jokes to be made about that.
Show me.
What, the tight fitting?
Keon, put on your maxi
long.
dress.
Put on your maxi dress and jump.
Keep reading and I'll show you the maxi dress. Get to the next update.
All right.
As a treat.
I told her I wasn't changing it solely for her, and even said if she didn't like it, she didn't have to be in the bridal party. She finally gave in and found herself a dress. Yeah, exactly. Put your foot down,
Yeah.
LP. This is your freaking wedding.
You see this? See this? This is the leverage that you've got. You can swing it back
also
and forth.
see this? This is called your freaking hands and freaking throw them at her.
And that's called felony.
Not if you're
it's
the
battery,
bride. Not if you're the
actually.
bride. Nope.
You know,
Nope,
unless
nope,
you're
if
the
you are the
bride.
bride,
exonerated.
Unless you're the bride.
No,
That's
you're the
true.
bride. Brides have
especially if you're
special
the bride.
rules.
It's okay.
Yeah.
You get
Remember,
special privileges.
remember, hit people on your wedding day.
Yeah,
You're
If you're not using your purge immunity, if you're not hitting people on your wedding day, you could literally do no wrong.
It's your day.
It's your day, and everyone must bow.
Yes.
I would also like to add my parents were very hard to plan this wedding with. I was also in my last semester of nursing school while trying to plan all of this. So between being busy with school and work, I also had to get my parents to help plan because they were paying for it. This is relevant later in the story. I'm looking at the maxi dresses.
Oh, that's nice.
That's nice.
It looks like a sundress.
Yeah.
That's like a sundress.
Yeah,
That's
maxi dresses.
nice.
I like it. I like the first one. I like the first.
Of course you do.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yep.
I like all of them.
Yep.
Yep.
I think those all work.
Yep. There's a
Yep,
good dress.
yep, yep.
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 All right. Anyway.
All right, get those out of here.
Okay, yeah.
We don't need
Keon,
those.
stop bringing those up. That's crazy.
What?
All right. That's
Yeah.
crazy, dude.
Keon, that was crazy work that you
Keon,
just
I
did.
can't believe you're bringing up maxi dresses.
Back
honestly,
to the shed.
That's
You need to eat
disgusting.
more mold.
Oh boy. Read. Read. Someone
At
said
my bridal shower, she tried to take the attention off me throughout all of it, even pulling me away to take pictures of her. Not with her, of her.
Hmm.
She also tried to make everyone else feel as if they weren't good enough friends with me as she was, even though there were people there I had known much longer who knew me better. I did not invite her to my bachelorette party because of how she acted. Bop.
Bop, cut out.
Cut out.
Done.
Uninvited from the wedding too, honestly. That's what I would have done. Would I have done that? Probably. The wedding day itself was beautiful. It was everything I had wanted. However, she arrived at the venue late when my other bridesmaids and I were almost done getting ready. One of them, at least 30 female, was also doing my makeup. Mary, tried to go through Elise's makeup bag and find a lip gloss without asking, and when Elise told her she didn't have one, she quickly got upset.
Quickly.
Other
upset.
things like this kept happening. Elise and another friend, Maddie, 26 female, brought their friend, Leanne, 25 female, who was in the middle of steaming my dress when Mary came over and demanded she stop to steam her dress.
I demand I have access to the dress steaming.
Who do you think you are? Do you think you're the bride?
For it is I who am the bestie.
Do you think you have bridal
Truly.
immunity? You think you can just punch anyone in this bridal shower
Right
and get
in
away
their-
with it?
Right in the trachea?
Reserved for the bride.
Yeah. Who do you think you are? Who do you think
I
you are?
am.
I am.
And then we started on the pictures. The photographer did a lot of pictures of me and my bridesmaids. Mary kept on trying to make people switch places with her so she could be as close to the center as possible. She even complained to the photographer about being on the end in several pictures. She's like, oh, wait, OP, can I switch with you? Can you go on the end? Can I go in the middle?
Yeah, I want to just cosplay as a
Can I
wife.
have your dress
I want
too?
to cosplay
Yeah, I
as
want
the
your
bride.
dress. Yeah, please.
Please.
We also did individual ones of me with every bridesmaid. When the photographer took pictures of me with Elise, she said that we had great chemistry in our pictures and jokingly said, we must be soulmates. Mary did not take kindly to that comment. After pictures were done, Elise, Maddie, and Leanne went to go get something to eat before the ceremony, mainly so they could get me a snack and something to drink. This will also be relevant here in a sec. We went through with the ceremony, and it was beautiful. After we walked out, I ran to grab a comfier pair of shoes. While I was gone, Mary approached my husband and began to complain. She said she felt excluded from the planning.
Aww.
She complained about Elise, Maddie, and Leanne not inviting her to go get food. Well, maybe if you weren't such a terrible person, they would invite you.
Yeah, maybe if you weren't trying to constantly steal the wedding spotlight.
Yeah. Come on.
Just a thought.
She had her mom with her, for the record. She also called Elise a B and said she got bad vibes from her. She said all of this with other people being able to hear her. My husband obviously told me all of this right after it happened. Obviously, I was not happy, but I wanted to enjoy my day. Is that a crime to want to enjoy your own day?
Is that a crime to enjoy a succulent Chinese meal?
We're just doing all.
What is that from?
Don't worry,
Who's the guy getting arrested in that video? Anyways,
This
no.
is democracy.
Yeah, it's
Read the story. Read the story. Read
Wait,
the story.
is that the one where the guy
it is
gets
probably
tased and he's like, ooh,
Is
that's
it?
my
no,
booty
no,
hole.
no, no,
I
no,
don't
no,
think
no,
so.
no, no,
All right.
no.
I like that one too.
Sorry.
Sorry.
I had to say it. My brain's rotten, so I had to say it.
Obviously, I was not happy, but I wanted to enjoy my day. Later in the night, we had a few things planned, such as toast. To avoid them going on too long, we asked one friend, one sibling, and one parent to each give one.
Okay.
I
One of
asked
each.
Elise to give one. It was heartfelt, and both my husband and I shed a few tears. However, Mary, and I'm now realizing maybe this is pronounced Marie.
Yeah, you had just done. I wasn't gonna correct you,
Sam's
but I
really
was
bad
like,
with
now it's
names,
Mary.
guys.
It's fine.
was giving Elise the stink eye the entire time. The next day, I started to process everything she had done, and I was angry. I decided to tell her I knew what she said to my husband. She denied everything, and when I told her how many people heard her, she tried to downplay it. I told her what she did was inappropriate and told her our friendship was done. And I blocked.
Finito.
Is that too much? Or is that too little?
Punch
I
her back.
think you are allowed to block whoever you want.
You are.
And that person has been partaking in some blockable behavior, not because of how egregious their behavior is, but because of how annoying it is.
And consistent.
Consistently
annoying.
Super annoying and inconvenient.
Let me know if
Get
you would
outta here.
block Mary.
Marie.
Yeah, Marie, you blocked.
The next morning, someone that I knew was a friend of hers reached out to me and asked me if she was my maid of honor. This was obviously not true because I asked my sister-in-law to be my maid of honor. I found out she had apparently gone around and told everyone she knew that she was, in fact, the maid of honor.
What a weird... Yeah, good job blocking her.
This same girl also told me about how Mary, had said awful things about me after I got engaged.
Yeah, that block is just getting sweeter and
It's
sweeter.
just getting
with
more
every
built up.
sentence. I'm more like, ooh, yeah, that
Also,
block.
Prince X
what a
is
good
saying,
move.
smoking a
Don't
joint
say
in
it.
the bath with
Don't.
y'all on. I'm not going to say the
I
rest.
could dust.
Is that a thing you
I
will
get
say?
that.
Dust? Oh, I could. Bust.
No.
Yeah, it's basically like, yeah, but it's just dust. It's like, but now there's just dust.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're ruining all your ears, guys.
All there's
Sorry.
left is dust.
Yeah. Because like you've just done it so many times.
Yeah.
That's what it sounds like.
Yeah.
You're really
Story.
giving it to them. Anyway, the main complaint was how I had acted when my then fiance and I went to to a concert with her. It would be noted that she roped us into this concert when we both were financially struggling. She bought the tickets without talking to us about it first and then said we owed her $125. Stupid of us to say yes. I know we paid her back. Very, very piecemeal over time. Also, you can pay us back by joining us live every weekday at 3 p.m. PST right here on YouTube. Just tap her profile. There's more of an update.
That's a tap.
But let's discuss, do you think OP is right to block Mary?
Yeah, blocking this like unhinged maniac.
Yeah.
Yeah, block her, dude.
Block her. Block her.
And good timing.
Block City.
Gone.
Because
Block
now,
party.
look, and she's just digging her own sort of grave here. She's
Yeah.
digging just a deeper, deeper hole. And all the other people are going to find out.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it took you a while to find out how terrible she was. It's only a matter of time before everyone else does.
Well, I feel like that's the biggest red flag is like, why are you lying about being a maid of honor?
Yeah.
You're not going to get away with that. It's not something you get away with.
But we got a little bit more of the story. We went to the concert, and my husband was in a separate section from us at the venue. He has epilepsy and felt like he was going to have a seizure during the show. This obviously made me really anxious and worried, and I spent the entire show worrying about him. She got mad at me for it and claimed I ruined the concert for her. However, she told me that I was complaining about having to sit with her instead of my husband. I explained this to the girl in my DMs, and she said that because of that, she would not be associating with her after this. So this girl in the DMs that's saying all this crap that Mary is saying is now like, you know what? She sounds crazy. I'm also not going to associate with her.
Yes. She's, like I said, she just keeps digging.
She keeps digging.
She's digging that hole.
This girl was obviously not my friend, just a means to have her ego stroked. But now she's blocked and gone from my life for good. I'm trying to stop myself from getting angry so I can enjoy my honeymoon, which is why I'm here. She doesn't deserve any more of my thoughts or energy than she's already gotten. Anyways, F that B. Thanks for reading. And we got a little edit. We were roommates for a good portion of the things that happened. She also had no issue going into my bathroom and going into my stuff when I wasn't home.
Gross.
I kept my wedding dress in my bedroom so because I was worried she would destroy it when I wasn't home. Door didn't have a lock, couldn't afford to get one.
Wow.
I didn't get out, and I did eventually get out into a better situation, aka living with my husband until very close to the wedding. And that is where that story ends.
Good job. Good job, OP. You blocked her. She was gross.
She was
and
terrible.
Not a friend.
Not a friend. You
Bad
do not
roommates.
have a friend in her.
Bad roommates are bad.
Restraining order? Cheryl Marionette.
At
Says restraining
the
order?
point of like, don't know if you need to do that now, but it was like definitely
think it's
just don't
necessary yet.
live with this person.
Yeah. I don't think she's done anything that warrants a restraining order, but she's definitely deserved that block.
I mean, if at any point you notice her like lurking around,
Yeah.
or you happen to
run,
you seem to be running into her a little too often, then maybe get the restrainer. But
the RO.
Yep. I left my dad's wedding early to go on a vacation with my friends.
Hey, honeymoon for you too.
I know that the title makes me seem like a terrible daughter, but the story needs context. A few weeks ago, my 21 female dad got married again. My parents divorced when I was 4, and my mom remarried when I was 9.
Not again.
By the way, this comes from user unfairtadpole407 on the r/OK Storytime subreddit. So, I love my stepdad and stepsister. I never understood the horror stories about stepfamilies because my experience was and still is good. I introduce my stepdad as my dad and my stepsister as my sister. When my stepdad introduces me, he always says, "And this is my kid." My dad dated several people in the past and was even engaged at one point. All of these women and their kids were similar experiences. I still talk to some of my dad's ex's kids with his permission. Kathy was my wake-up call. When Dad told me when I was 19 at the time, and my siblings who were 19 male and 25 female now, but 17 male and 23 female then, he was dating Kathy, we weren't surprised. Her husband had passed a year before, and my dad worked with both of them for about a decade before the incident. Ooh, he stepped in real quick, didn't he? And he said, "I'm so sorry to hear about that." My dad supported Kathy after the accident and helped with her 2 kids who were just 10 and 12 at the time.
I bet you just helped with the kids.
Yeah, trying to help make some new ones probably. A little less than a year after his passing, Dad told us he and Kathy were romantically involved. We supported him because he told us that they were serious and dating with the intent to marry. We met Kathy and her kids about a week later. My siblings and I, 23 female, 19 female, and 17 male at the time, got along with all 3 of her kids. Kathy had always wanted a big family, but was unable to have one, so having 5 kids was amazing for her. The problem between me and Kathy started about 6 months later. She's a helicopter mom and still chooses her kids' outfits, even though they're in high school now.
What?
That's kind of...
My mom stopped picking out my outfits in the 3rd grade.
She's very controlling and extremely conservative. On the other hand, my siblings and I were raised with the one rule being don't let the hospital, police, or school call us. My parents were extremely lenient and let us get into trouble. We have a very casual and honest relationship with our parents. My parents knew when we were experimenting at that age and told us to make sure we did so responsibly and with limits. It was common for us to spend weekends at parties and friends' houses. This was a problem for Kathy from the start. We lived with my mom and saw my dad every other weekend, with holidays being split. The system worked. I was and am in a nearby university. My sister was in an internship, and my brother in a nearby high school, with both my brother and I working part-time. Since we were busy with academics and friends and work, we saw my dad very little. This ruined her image of her big, happy family. She started picking fights with us over this, but we explained that we were older than her kids and had lives of our own to run at this point. She was not having this. We made an effort to have dinner with them once a week, but I work late hours, so I saw them less. Kathy had been the reason why my dad missed my birthday for 3 years.
What?
It was tradition ever since the divorce that he would take us for breakfast for our birthdays and sushi for big events or moments in our lives. My dad missed my 19th birthday because Kathy needed him. My 20th birthday because he had to go with her and her kids to her late husband's mother's farm, and my 21st for the same reason. Why you gotta go to the farm? It's your daughter's birthday.
Yeah, unless she likes the farm.
Who does? Kathy?
OP.
OP ain't at the farm.
Yeah, true.
He also missed my high school graduation, my first job, and me getting into university.
That's 3 sushi dinners you owe her.
Because of Kathy?
Yeah. She's super controlling, dude.
Why is she doing this?
Because she put a shock collar on him because he likes it, and she just anytime he tries to do anything.
Everybody has their own quirks, right?
You know, dude, I'm sorry. You know this man likes being told what to do. Kathy's telling him what to do.
Well, I mean, that's one thing, but, you know, I feel like the vibe from, you know, how they kind of let their kids be.
That was the dad and the first mom.
I just feel like a parent who would let their kids exercise freedom would sort of also value their own.
Maybe he had too much freedom and he likes some guidelines. He likes being told where to go.
Hey, people change, right?
People are changing.
I don't hold any of this against him because I understand that he thought he needed to build a relationship with Kathy. And no, I haven't gotten an apology. Things with Kathy got so bad that I had to go back to therapy. Just being around her and her kids for hours on end would send me into panic attacks. I tried. I picked up her kids from school. I took them out for ice cream and skating, things that my siblings and I would do. I even got them things that they wanted and took them places that they really wanted to go. But things only got worse when Kathy found out I was bi. I don't hide it, but I also don't pronounce it to the world because I don't think it should be anyone's business. Her daughter had been talking about the LGBT community, and I offhandedly mentioned that I am bi. She asked questions, and I answered. They were normal questions that I have gotten 100 times in the past. Kathy was livid when she found out.
Like, whenever two vajayjays meet, which vajayjay forms into a penis to receive the other vajayjay?
Like a vajayjay Voltron?
Yeah. When two vajayjays meet, which one inseminates the other one?
They just need tools. They need their tools. They need to acquire tools.
When two vajayjays meet, which one sprays out the sauce?
Which one's the dominant one?
Yeah.
I think they like wrestle. During all of this, I had a serious talk with my dad. He understood that I wasn't doing well mentally and needed to set my boundaries. We agreed that I would only attend birthdays and special occasions and only for a few hours. I still spoke to him on the phone at least 3 times a week. Kathy was understandably angry. Despite this, the relationship continued to grow. I support my dad's relationship because Kathy is good for him. Since dating her, he's been more active, healthier, calmer, and happier.
Probably because Kathy told him to do that. Be more healthier, be more happy, be more calm.
Well, sometimes people need like a guiding force in their life from their partner, you know? Some people want to maintain their independence, absolutely, and some people are totally open to being like, babe, what do I do? Help. It should be for those kind of things and not like, am I allowed to like be at my daughter's birthday? Because low key, it's like we had to go to the farm. We had to go to the farm. I feel like it's Kathy scheduling that stuff on purpose so that they're not around during Loki's birthday. All of those positives being why, when he asked us a little less than a year ago for our blessing to propose, my siblings and I were happy to give it. The engagement was sweet and everyone fell into wedding planning quickly. My dad and I spoke about my role in the wedding. My brother and new stepbrother would be his groomsmen, while my stepsister would be a bridesmaid. My sister and I would walk down the aisle together, but didn't have any role beyond that. The date they chose fell on a long weekend where my best friend Violet was celebrating her 21st birthday. I spent my 21st with my friends, staying with my mom and stepdad. They had moved to a beach house earlier that year because they both work from home and were tired of the city. All the kids were in university or working, so it was a good time to do so. Since my friends are close with my mom and stepdad, I asked that we spend a week there. My best friend Nina and her boyfriend Chris asked that we do the same for their 21st birthdays, and my mom agreed because she's adopted them as her own. When Violet asked if we could go for her birthday, I had to tell her that it would have to wait until the following weekend because of the wedding. The wedding was Saturday, and I knew I wouldn't have the energy to do the 3-hour drive on Sunday, but because of exams, we decided to move it a bit more than a week when we didn't have classes or exams. Probably a solid idea.
Yeah.
I mentioned this to my dad when telling him about my day and my summer plans. My dad suggested that because of our prior arrangement, I could attend the wedding ceremony and be in the family pictures and then leave. I told him that it was fine. I wanted to spend the day with him. It came out that Kathy was worried about me drinking at the wedding. Kathy's just a worrywart.
Kathy's the extremely conservative person.
Oh, Kathy.
What the heck, dude?
I do drink on occasion, but rarely more than is normal for a university student. Kathy also thought that my suit, a dark gray with a floral emerald shirt, would ruin the photographs. I don't care that my dad didn't argue with her. At this point, I would do anything to avoid tension and fights. So I reluctantly Agreed. The day of the wedding came and everything went as planned. I smiled and cried through the ceremony. I smiled for the photos I was asked to be in. I then said goodbye and left. I picked up my friends and their boyfriends, and the 5 of us went away for the rest of the long weekend. We had an incredible weekend at the beach, swimming, tanning, hiking, doing wine tastings, all that good stuff. I noticed calls and texts from people, but didn't check it because I honestly didn't have the time. I was also enjoying myself too much. When I came back that Tuesday, I finally checked my phone. There had been drama at the wedding.
Of course.
My dad's friends had been confused that I left. My dad explained the situation, and his friends got angry. They're all like aunts and uncles to me, and from what I've heard, my dad's best friend called Kathy out in front of everyone. Her speech at dinner had gone something along the lines of, quote, "Look at my perfect little family here." My dad's friend then apparently said something along the lines of, "You are so lucky to have these 3 kids in your family of 7, not 6, in his speech. Now everyone is attacking Kathy for excluding me. People went into her social media and started to point out that I was nowhere to be found while my siblings were. Kathy wants me to make a post explaining that it was my decision and that I hate photos, which is why I'm not in them. I don't even have social media. My dad and I have agreed that I should keep my distance for the time being until everything is settled down. But it's been a few weeks and I miss my dad, but Kathy's refusing to let me see him. Hey, did you know that your dad can actually make choices for himself because he's a grown man?
Yeah, did you know that your dad could have chose not to marry Kathy, but he still did for some wacko reason?
Well, it wasn't wacko, right? OP said that she noticed a lot of positive changes in her dad, like when they got together, but at the same time,
Kathy is stopping him from seeing his kids.
he's trying to prevent him from having a relationship with her, which is unacceptable. And you need to start pressing him to tell him, hey, you need to put your foot down with Kathy, that it's not her place to tell you how to have a relationship with your own daughter.
Yeah.
My brother and sister say that I should just apologize, while my friends are telling me that it doesn't matter. Am I the one in the wrong here when 1, my dad suggested it, and 2, Kathy didn't want me at the wedding in the first place? And we do have an update. I would say you're not the a-hole, clearly, because you had worked this out ahead of time with your dad. If anything, your dad should be the one stepping out in front of this and saying, this was my idea.
Yeah.
It was just to make everyone, it was a compromise to make it work for everyone. Dad needs to start taking an active role in
your life,
in making these things clear. Let's go into the update. It has been a few months since my last post, and there have been a few developments. First off, I want to answer some questions and explain a few things from the comments on my first post. A lot of people are saying that Kathy can't be good for my dad, which I agree with, but my dad was a workaholic before they started dating. Except for the occasional visit to friends, he was basically a hermit. Kathy gets him out of the house and active. He's part of the community and involved at the school. He also never looked after himself, but now he does. That is why I say she's good for him. She takes care of him and makes him take care of himself. As to abiding by her wishes and making a post, I have no social media. Weird for somebody my age, but I just don't have any social media besides Reddit, which I barely use, and Tumblr. I don't see the use in making an account, be it Instagram or Facebook, just to make a post for her. Don't worry though, my mom has been very honest with anyone who reached out to ask her what happened. From what I've heard, my dad has been getting quite a bit of flack for his actions, or what I would call inaction. Boom.
Get roasted.
I have decided to go no contact with my dad and Kathy and her kids. I notified my dad and he wasn't very happy about it. I explained that everyone can calm down for a few months and then we can reevaluate everything. Okay, so that's good. It's not permanent.
Permanent is just for now, no contact.
Just temporary. And maybe that'll make your dad understand the value of a relationship with his daughter, and he'll wake up and say, I can't let my wife bully me about seeing my children. I had full intentions on contacting him again after a year, but I no longer do. Oh, what did Dad do?
Oh, God.
He texts me every now and again, just saying that he loves me and good luck with my exams. Kathy's kids have reached out through my siblings for help with essays and projects. I helped as much as I could without actually speaking to them. They didn't do anything wrong except keep their mouths shut, so I'm trying to be as lenient as possible to them. My brother and sister are supporting me. They still see my dad and Kathy and plan on spending Christmas with that side of the family. I'm all for it because I will be spending Christmas with Violet and her family. My brother and sister update me every now and again when somebody gives my dad flack or if something big happens, like my stepbrother breaking his arm. My mom and stepdad have been really supportive of my decision as well. They don't bring up what happened unless I do, and they don't engage with anyone asking questions online. Whenever someone asks something in person, they're more than happy to tell them the entire story, though. On a happy note, I actually got married.
Oh, wow.
Congratulations. This isn't really the point of this post, but I think context is necessary. And I like saying it. So shortly after the last post, I met a guy and we started dating. One thing led to another, which led to jealousy. And Violet and I admitted that we loved each other for years, but didn't want to ruin our friendship. We broke up with our boyfriends and have been together since. We've been friends for over a decade, and once we were dating, we realized that we've been doing couple things for so many years that we were technically dating without realizing it. We were out with friends one night and just thought, why not? We got a priest, and with our closest 5 friends as witnesses, we got married in our local church and went out to have drinks after for our celebration. We didn't tell anyone until a week later. Kathy moved in with me and my siblings until me, Kathy, and Nina and Chris got an apartment, which we love. It's been a roller coaster from there. Our parents are happy for us, even if they demand we have a proper wedding that they can attend. Isn't Kathy the mother-in-law?
Yeah. The crazy conservative mother-in-law.
Moved in with them? Kathy moved in with me and my siblings until me, Kathy, and Nina and Chris got an apartment. Kathy cannot be.
I think it's a different person.
It's got to be a different
Has to be. Yeah. Different Kathy. Different Kathy. I think Kathy's one of OP's friends.
Yeah. It's been a roller coaster from there. Our parents are happy for us, even if they demand we have a proper wedding that they can attend. My sister told my dad, and he called. I was out of the room when he did, and Violet answered. By the time I walked into the room, she was yelling at him, telling my dad, "You treated her like a coat that you could use and put away whenever you want. I'm treating her how she deserves to be treated, trying to make up for your parenting." I've cleaned up the language quite a bit, but it made me cry, and I couldn't love anyone more than I loved her in that moment. I really fell even more in love with her. And she's got your back.
Dang.
You and Violet.
Yep. And she's wearing that coat every single day.
She's like, I don't even take it off when it's hot outside. Violet has helped me stay no contact with my dad throughout this ordeal. She's also been helping me work through my initial guilt over going no contact with him. She's been making sure that I'm attending therapy and working through my emotions. I've done a lot of work and have come to a lot of realizations that I can't make everything perfect by pretending that it is. One of the major things has been the wedding. Every girl wants their dad to walk them down the aisle, and Violet simply said that our moms would walk us down the aisle since she doesn't have a dad. She's been helping me come to terms with my treatment over the years, and it's honestly been a fantastic feeling. I feel lighter and happier and like I can see everything more clearly. My siblings have told me that Kathy is cursing us high and low to anyone still listening to her. My dad's friends are extremely conservative, but they've all commented their congratulations on my mom's post. Kathy also apparently told my dad that I was never allowed in their house again and would only be forgiven if I got a divorce. I'm not planning on it. But you know what I want y'all to plan on?
What's that?
Joining us when we go live every weekday at 3 p.m. PST on YouTube, Facebook, TikTok, and Twitch. All you got to do is tap our profile and you're in. Other than that, my university graduation is coming up. My university runs from February to November. Violet and I can't wait to start our post-grads and maybe in a few years have an actual wedding. Kathy can screw it and my dad can go along with her until he realizes that he should be protecting his daughter instead of leaving her in harm's way. I'll be keeping this account for a while because Violet wants to see what people say, but after that, I'll probably delete it. Thank you everyone for all the support you've given me. Who knew the internet could actually be helpful?
Aw.
Oh, we do. We're on the internet and we're helpful.
We are personas on the internet. I just realized that.
But that's the end of that story. My boyfriend's female friend is way too clingy. I need her to get away.
I got a solution. Just if he loves her so much, marry her.
Yeah, take her to Hawaii.
Yeah.
If you love her so much, why don't you marry her? My boyfriend, 25 male, and I, 26 female, have been in a relationship for a little over a year. We met 3 years ago, and I have always known about his female friend, 24 female, who we will call Mandy. By the way, this comes from user Elegant Potato 6878 on the r/OK Storytime subreddit. So, My boyfriend, who we call Chris, has been friends with Mandy for 6 years. Mandy dated one of Chris's best friends and college roommate for over a year, but they were all friends before Mandy dated his friend. He remained in contact with her after she and his friend broke up, but not as close as they were before. He rarely talked about Mandy, and they never hung out until Chris and I made our relationship official. That's a weird time to start hanging out.
I see the type of person we're dealing with here.
When Chris and I made our relationship official, we lived in 2 separate towns over an hour away from each other. When we labeled our relationship, suddenly I would hear how Mandy was inviting him over to her house in the evenings and asking him to do favors for her, like fix the bed frame or get her gas because she ran out. It was annoying to me, but I had never met her at that point. When I finally did meet her, the only annoying thing was how often she mentioned that she and Chris had been friends for so long. It was weird, but I wasn't concerned. A month later, she invited him to go to a concert of an old band together in the summer. It's definitely not my music, but I wasn't invited at all until a week later when we were all hanging out, and she said, "Oh, would you like to go? I'm sure you could find tickets somewhere." I really wasn't too torn up about it all. Just annoyed still at this point. Fast forward to summer and I moved to the town my boyfriend is in. I'm trying to make an effort to get to know this girl because she is always around. We live in the same apartment complex and there's a pool we would go to during these days. The first major red flag comment she says to me alone is, quote, "Sometimes I wonder what my life would be like if I was the one dating Chris. I see how sweet he is to you and I want that." Like any girlfriend, I became concerned. I should have said something then, but I hate confrontation. Also, for the sake of the story length, I'm going to be cutting a lot of sketchy things that she said to me and only give you the juicy details because this was not the worst thing. Fast forward 1 month later. Her and my boyfriend went to the concert without me, and she posted a picture of them together at the concert, which is the only picture they have together in their 6 years of friendship. Imagine that. Also, he told me that she barely knew any of the songs and was miserable the whole time, so he was confused why she wanted to go. I know why. She was at my apartment helping me do stuff for my classroom a couple days later, and she randomly said, quote, "Chris just didn't care if I posted the Instagram picture, but I don't want you to think I'm your competition." I was genuinely so confused because we weren't even talking about that, and I said, "I don't think you're my competition?" Like, what? Then she said, "Oh my God, did Chris tell you I want him and I to get matching tattoos together? He's been my friend for so long and stuck by my side. He's the only friend I would do that with."
Run.
Yeah, at this point,
Or I'll at least push her away and then run.
you need to tell your boyfriend that she is like literally being like, "I steal your man." I don't care what she says right here. She's being steal your man. At this point, I'm like, WTF, because they aren't even close like that. Then later, she wants to plan a vacation at the end of summer, the week I start school back up. I'm a teacher, and she knew that when I started school. So when I tell her that wouldn't work for me, she says, "Oh, well, maybe Chris will just go with me," and is texting him at work, convincing him to go with her. Girl, you got to stop being passive. Stop being passive. Tell your boyfriend. What are we doing? He doesn't agree to go, but why is she trying to plan a solo vacay with just my boyfriend? Why are you acting like you don't know the answer to that? Finally, I later tell him nervously, by the way, how uncomfy she has made me. I'm very civil about it, but he tells me he understands and says it is weird behavior. Anyway, she doesn't do anything too crazy for a while until we are at a get-together with friends, and we all got done taking shots. Chris and I were standing close and being cute as a couple when she stands on the couch and says to Chris, "Carry me," in a whiny voice. So he says, "No, that's effing weird." So she says, "Let me get on your shoulders," and continues to get on top of him. What do you mean, and continues to get on top of him? What do we mean by that? Because he could literally at any point just be like, "Hey, do you know how much consent you have to give to let someone get up onto your shoulders?"
It's both the comfort and the like safety, you know? Like there's so many layers.
Listen, this is already all effed up, but I'm definitely bigger than she is. To me, she's one of those girls who did that to prove to me that he could carry her with ease and not me. Maybe I'm overthinking that piece, but come on. Ugh, God, that's an extra gross layer. This girl needs to go. That's all I'm going to say. This girl needs to go.
Bye-bye.
She wanted him to carry her? I was at my breaking point and told him I was going to set her straight the next day. I did so over Snapchat, and she was apologetic, of course, but that still didn't stop her. She always does and says weird and sketchy things still. The most recent, she literally asked him to be her little swimmer donor. I am not even kidding. When she asked, I said, no, that is a effing weird question. And she got very red. I told Chris that the next time she does something like that, he needs to be the one to say something to her since she doesn't respect our relationship. I told him that all my friends say to cut her off, but I know that she is his friend. He says he agrees with me, and it is weird, but I don't think he understands how angry I am and how much it bothers me. He's so oblivious to it all. But also, OP, I think part of why he's oblivious is you don't seem to have communicated any of the way that you are feeling to him in like a real way, whether that's because you don't like confrontation or not. But like from the first moment she said, I just am always picturing myself with your boyfriend instead of you. You tell him that and you go, I don't like this one.
And like, admittedly, this is maybe the most obvious case we've ever seen of like, oh, she clearly wants you and is trying to like get in between and destroy your relationship to steal you. But still, she should share how she feels because she deserves that.
You have to do it immediately, no matter how weird it is, no matter how weird it feels. I've literally had to do this before. With somebody after they had gotten with, they started dating somebody. We like looked at each other at one point, right? And there were eyeballs being exchanged. And then after she starts dating my friend, at one point we're like in the same area, and she goes, "This could have been us. And you just, if you would have made a move, it could have been us." And I immediately went out, not 5 minutes later, and was like, "Hey, bro, heads up, because your girlfriend just low key was like, what if we were dating? So just wanted to give you the heads up on that one." And that's exactly what you should have done with your own boyfriend when this girl was like, I low-key am fantasizing about being your boyfriend's girlfriend.
I feel for her. I definitely agree. Like, you deserve to be able to tell him, like, I am insanely uncomfortable, and I think that you should be too, and you should want to cut it off.
But now she has been calling him asking for favors so much lately, and I can't take it. I'm so ready to just cut her off entirely. The most recent things to occur is when I tried to give her one more chance and went to an event with her alone. She says, out of nowhere, if Chris ever proposes, you better not say no. Out of sheer frustration, I tell her that our plan is to get married and we have it all figured out. She looked so surprised and suddenly texted Chris to tell him that she needed to know all of the details of the proposal. A little bit later, she says, I hope you're not worried about me and Chris, to which I responded, I'm not, and I've never been worried. She then said, well, I have something to tell you. About 3 or 4 years ago, Chris gave me a back scratch.
What kind of comment is that? About 3 or 4 years ago, he patted me on the back.
This is a perfect example of you don't need to just like keep people around. I feel like we were hiding that from you. I hope you don't think it's weird. I just love soft touches. Oof, dude. I'm just like,
who is this person?
Again, I'm running the Oklahoma drill now. When I told her I didn't care, she just kept bringing it up all night, saying how she hopes it won't cause our breakup. Like, shut up. Later, she also told me that if she ever made a move on Chris, she's confident he would say no. I told Chris all about this and said I can't be around her anymore. I've given her too many chances. Chris and I are moving towns, which she conveniently got a job in too. Dude.
Whoa.
Dude. Ugh.
We are reaching levels of insanity not yet reached before.
Moving in together, OP and her boyfriend Chris, and he's already asked my dad for his blessing. It is the real deal, and I love him so much, but I don't know how much more I can handle with the constant reminder of all that Mandy has said and done to me with her still around. If I tell him to cut her off without giving her another chance, am I the a-hole? No, you're not!
You forgot something important, though. Mandy also went and asked for the blessing to marry him.
I don't even feel like she would do that. She'd go ask Chris's parents, like, if OP has the blessing to marry Chris.
So I heard you didn't get the blessing. Oh my God, that must like feel so sad.
I heard you didn't get the blessing from Chris's girlfriend if she was allowed to marry your wonderful son. And I personally would have definitely asked that. I can like convey the message for you if you want. And then she's going to be like, Chris, your parents told me that they'd rather you marry me.
Silly as that.
Yeah, no, I mean like he needs to know that this girl's unhinged. He has to already know. So why is he ignoring it?
Again, I feel like it would be very normal at this point for him to be like, yeah, this is a no-go. I don't know how much of this has been said with him 100% there and aware of it, but I just can't imagine that he's not able to see it. It's so obvious.
If this is what she's saying to the girlfriend, imagine what she says to him. Anyway,
Facts.
we have an update. First off, I really appreciate all the comments and advice from my original post. Truthfully, I didn't read anything in the comments that was new or something that I haven't thought of or of before deep down. So it was honestly very validating to read all the comments because I know I'm not crazy. I even know my boyfriend is not totally innocent in this situation, but that can be a hard pill to swallow, which is why I didn't mention it. But I should have known the commenters on Reddit would read between the lines, LOL. And really quickly, I'm going to touch on that because I feel like it speaks to OP's personality. I know that can be a hard pill to swallow, which is why I didn't mention it. Sometimes the hard talks, the cold water, the bitter pills, you need to mention these things in a relationship. If they don't get mentioned, they just fester beneath the surface until they manifest as like a full-blown like disease.
Yeah.
And now you got to like do a whole wellness routine. You could have done a preventive care. I want to clarify some things first before I fully update. Mandy and Chris hardly talk one-on-one that you know of, and they never really have before, which is why I was okay with the friendship at first because it seemed casual. However, once I came into the picture, she tried to weasel her way in and make it seem like their friendship was more than it was. But trust me that they have never had a fling and he would never leave the relationship for her. That has never been my worry. I know all girls say that, but it's true. He truly is oblivious to a lot of things, but I'm sure deep down he liked the attention as well, which is annoying. My theory, also thankfully backed up by commenters, is that she, one, likes the attention. Trust me, I could tell 20 more stories about how she tried to get attention from her body to her wild antics. Two, she wants what she can't have. Chris is typically not her type, but obviously attractive. Humble flex from OP there. She was never interested before, except now that he's not available. Three, she wants to make me jealous. I've hated feeling this way because on the surface it seemed like we could have gotten along. This is probably why I kept giving chances when it should have stopped long ago. Once I moved into town a few months into our official relationship, Chris only hung out one-on-one with Mandy that one time at the concert. Every other time I'm there. I honestly have spent way more time with her alone, which is why she has made 90% of the comments to me. This is why it has been tricky for Chris to reach out to her when he's hearing everything from me. That doesn't make any sense. I'm not even accepting that. It shouldn't be tricky at all for your boyfriend to hear his girlfriend talking about how one of his friends is like violating her boundaries. He shouldn't be like, oh, well, that's weird. I don't know if I can talk to her about it because she wasn't talking to me. No, that doesn't make any sense. And if that's coming from your boyfriend, I'm extra sus now, which I don't think it is. I think that might be coming from OP. But anyway, I know that it's not a full excuse because I'm coming to him with these issues. Plus, he would rather avoid conflict, but we talked about this in my update. We both have not seen or talked to Mandy since the last incident because I told Chris I was done. However, even after that conversation a month ago, it didn't sit right. I posted this on Reddit after she sent a message to us both wanting to hang out, and while we didn't hang out with her, he made it seem like it was a possibility. So here is the update. Thanks to the Reddit commenters, I feel validated enough to bring it back up. We had a deep conversation where I laid it all out there. I didn't sugarcoat anything. I didn't allow him to be innocent in the conversation either. He did say again that her behavior is weird and has made him angry. I did mention that hopefully there won't be any other situations because we will avoid her, but I can't be the one to keep saying things to her. I won't lay out all the details of our conversation, but he came up with the solution on his own. Here it is. If Mandy is the problem, we will cut off the problem. Which should have been done as soon as she was like, I'm daydreaming about stealing your man.
Yes.
Come on.
But give him another chance.
No, come on. You're sweetie for doing it because you're like, oh, this is like, he's known this girl and they're friends, but doesn't sound like that's even the case. There is no need for her to be making him and I angry and uncomfortable. And I just want to let all y'all know that you could never make us angry or uncomfortable by joining us every weekday at 3 p.m. PST when we go live on YouTube, Facebook, TikTok, and Twitch. All you got to do is tap our profile and you're in. John.
Facebook, YouTube, TikTok, come on down.
You heard him, folks. We got just a little bit more left of this update, but honestly, I mean, if I was OP, I would seriously reconsider like my relationship with my boyfriend, because it's like you can only be so oblivious before it becomes a red flag, and this is a big one. Like,
It shows misalignment.
yeah, let's finish this story. I never showed him the post or the comments. I probably will later. Our plan now is to not make a ruckus, but drop her. I'm glad he's on my side, though I had no doubt about that. He truly is unproblematic. I just needed to lay it out there and communicate it, all for him to understand my true feelings. Communication is something we both need to work on. You got that right. I know I have talked to him before, but this time was different. Thank you everyone for validating my feelings and encouraging me to have a conversation and opening my eyes to how he needs to set these boundaries. Hopefully there are no more updates because there are no more problems. And that is the end of the story, so I guess no more problems for OP.
My friend cheated on her husband, but karma caught up to her.
I love a good karma story.
This story is about my ex-best friend from high school, a walking foreshadow of how people obsessed with cheating are often the first to cheat. Warning, this story is very long. Buckle in. Here we go. By the way, this comes from interesting ad 32 on the r/OK Storytime subreddit. So I met Emily, fictional name, in the last year of high school. I was starting at a new school and we became friends quickly because we had the same musical taste. She had a boyfriend who was 1 year older, let's call him Noah, and had already finished high school. And he was clearly in love with Emily. He was a very nice guy. And during the last year, we started going out a lot in a large group together. Me, her, and a boyfriend, his friends, and some other friends I made in our classes. All of us between 16 and 19 years old. One of them later became my boyfriend as well. I was very young, but something about Emily and Noah's relationship seemed strange to me. He was clearly in love with her and very easygoing and friendly. She, on the other hand, was extremely controlling to the point of being aggressive with him in front of friends if she thought he had looked at a girl or if any of them made a joke she didn't like. I found this a bit concerning at the time, but I just thought she had a strong personality. Years went by, and when Emily went to college in the same place where Noah was attending, she started to change a lot. The group was still very close, and we used to go out together frequently, but she now had a new group of friends, and at the new college has started to act differently, dress differently, as if she were mirroring her new friends. That year, she made an excuse not to come up to my birthday party, which should be held at a bar because that bar is known to have too many gay people, and neither she nor her boyfriend came. I found it so weird. Was she thinking that Noah could cheat on her with men too? A few days later, I saw a picture of her with her new friends and realized she had gone out with them on my birthday. I was very upset, and we started to drift apart a bit because I became closer with other members of the same group. At this point, I had already started dating my boyfriend, now husband, and he never got along well with Emily. He found her fake and too controlling, someone who was toxic and always pissed at everyone and everything. I would end up defending her a bit, citing times she helped me and stood by me, thinking she would eventually get tired about faking a personality and go back to how we were at the first year of our friendship. I was wrong. Soon she had a falling out with her new friends and found another group of friends who were completely different, and her looks and personalities changed completely again. That year, Emily's relationship with Noah was slowly going downhill. They had been dating for a long time. Things weren't progressing. We organized a New Year's Eve party for the whole group, and they had a huge fight over something made up in Emily's head about how he didn't value her enough. Emily always seemed unsatisfied with everything. A few days later, they announced to us that they were engaged.
Oh no.
Today, I think Noah didn't want to break up and thought that taking the next step in their relationship would solve the couple's problems.
That never does.
He couldn't have been more wrong. The wedding was quite modest, held at a courthouse, as at the time the couple, and in fact all of us, didn't have the means for a big wedding. After the courthouse part, there was a big celebration paid by their parents. Both families were quite large and got along well. My boyfriend and I were there. On this occasion, we met one of Emily's childhood friends, whom we'll call Eve. I found it strange that I heard very little about Eve, about how she was clearly one of Emily's great lifelong friends and had left school before I got there because she had moved to another city. Eve was a very nice person. I still follow her on social media and we exchanged a few words sometimes, although we're not friends. And she was very happy to be at the wedding. We talked a lot about the celebration and she told me many stories about her and Emily from their school days. And I was surprised about what I discovered.
What was that? What did you discover?
Choo choo!
All aboard.
When I met Eve, I immediately noticed that her hair color was the same as Emily's. When I first met her, she dyed her hair at the same time. In fact, Emily's entire style was different now, but Eve's appearance was identical to how Emily tried to look when I first met her. I realized that just as Emily copied the style of her friends today, she was trying to look like Eve back then, and there was a reason for that. Eve and Noah had a crush on each other back in high school. It was Emily who had came between them and went after her friend's crush. Eve didn't say this directly, but the story she told me made it very clear. She also seemed to have gotten over it and held no grudge, being genuinely happy for them. But for me, it revealed a side, my then friend, no longer my BFF at that point, that I didn't know. Initially, the marriage was going very well. Noah's family had given them an apartment that had belonged to his grandmother, and their home became a meeting point for our group. And at this point in our lives, each of us had followed our own personal and professional paths, but we still saw each other frequently to play board games, drink together. During this time, we became close again. Emily started to become more and more toxic. Emily began fixating on my boyfriend.
Wait, what? Emily, you're already married.
But you know what she likes, dude?
Opie's boyfriend.
No. The chase. She loves the chase.
That's the beauty of it. Just like the
I'm on board now. Saying that I didn't control him enough. She said that men need to be put in their place and called me stupid and submissive for not putting my boyfriend in his place.
Oh no.
She clearly wanted to create a fight between me and my boyfriend. I said that if a man needed me to control his every move to force him to stay with me, then I would rather not be in a relationship because that was too exhausting. She ignored me, kept insisting that I should always check his phone, and that I was stupid for not doing so, and that men are always looking for excuses to cheat, and that I would regret my decisions one day. Foreshadowing.
Do you think Noah cheats on her?
Absolutely not. Some weeks later, I organized my boyfriend's birthday party and called everyone to attend, including Emily and Noah.
Nice.
At one point during the party, she pulls me aside and starts arguing with me, saying that his colleague is hitting on him. She wasn't. She thought it was absurd that I didn't break up with my boyfriend right then and there, and also fought with her own husband, Noah, for talking too nicely to that sleut. Some time had passed then. Life kept going, and we stopped visiting Noah and Emily. I was angry with her for the scene that she made at my boyfriend's birthday party and started to accept that she was truly a toxic person. When we talked over the phone, it was only about herself and her new business ventures and began trying to pitch the MLM stuff. She was never interested in my life, but deep down, I believe she was still a good person. She had a lot of problems and needed therapy. It seems to me that she was only showing her true colors. Some months later,
Okay.
Noah invited people to a gathering at their house to drink, listen to music, and spend time together. My boyfriend and I decided to go, since it was Noah inviting, and by this point, we cared more for him than for Emily herself. Then we got there. Some people from our group were there. There were also new people who we found were Noah's coworkers.
Okay.
But as the night went on, I started to feel like something was weird. Emily seemed to be getting along nicely with Noah's co-workers, even though I knew she usually didn't like it when he met new people. At a certain point in the night, she started to get really irritated for no reason. At one point, she snapped at Noah for some insignificant thing, making everyone uncomfortable. You know, when you see this really weird hostility between a couple and start to think you shouldn't be there or that something is happening and you don't want to be a part of it. I ended up telling my boyfriend that I was tired and we quickly went home. A month went by without us hearing from Emily or Noah. At the time, social media wasn't as prevalent as it is today, and even now, Noah maintains a very low profile online. We just went on with our lives without thinking too much about what had happened that night. Until one day, a mutual friend of ours and Noah's, who was closer than we were to him, sent us a message saying that something had happened and that he was with Noah at the hospital. Because remember, she was being aggressive towards him earlier in the
no.
relationship.
Yes. Oh, do you think that jump to that?
Oh,
No, I hope not. What would you tell? Like, what would you do here? Would you try and talk to Emily, or would you go to Noah?
I would try Emily being my friend.
Yeah.
Girl, what are we doing here? Why are we acting this way?
Why are you just so toxic, girl?
Go to therapy. We were shocked. We went to meet his friend who explained to us what had happened over the past month. Emily had been cheating on Noah for months with one of his coworkers we saw last time we had visited their house. Hell, we even considered this guy his friend. This coworker, whom we'll call Lucas, was engaged at the time.
They always are.
Lucas and Emily even traveled together once, while Emily said to Noah she was traveling alone for work. He discovered the whole thing when she left the pictures of the trip on their PC desktop, and one of the pictures was of Emily and Lucas kissing. Oh my God.
So she's an idiot
too?
She's an idiot. She's a toxic idiot.
When discovered, she shrugged it off. Emily seemed only irritated by Noah's emotional reaction, saying it was just a kiss, and he was overreacting. According to what my friend told me, she seemed quite indifferent to the relationship. They had been together for 12 years, including marriage and dating, and didn't even seem interested in settling the matter. Noah wanted to stay together, wanted to give her some time alone, and maybe open the relationship?
Of course he did.
She just left the house and moved in with Lucas into the house that he and his fiance had bought.
What is going on?
Their wedding was already scheduled, and this man was traveling with his coworker's wife and brought her to her fiance's new home? I mean, wow. Noah was devastated. A week after she left, he tried to remove himself from this planet. A mutual friend was the one that found him and saved him. Noah eventually recovered, but he spent a long time picking up the pieces of his life while trying to move on. Emily disappeared from our lives, seemingly forever. At that point, I realized I never meant nothing to her. She never tried to tell me her side of the story or talk to me about what was happening. She just erased me from her life as if I never existed, erased all of us, and started her new life with Lucas. She deleted her profile on all social media platforms, and I realized I truly knew nothing about who this person who claimed to be my friend was. Although we remained good friends with Noah, the group gradually fell apart over time as new people got married and moved away and had kids. He found someone new. I met Noah's new girlfriend a year after his divorce from Emily, and she's an amazing person.
Thank goodness. He deserves it. I feel bad for the guy.
She was also a coworker, but from a different department. So she would only see him in the hallways occasionally and admired him from afar. After his marriage ended, she finally saw her chance, and they started dating. Noah had many traumas from his previous relationship, but they worked through them and they are still together. They seemed happy at the time I had contact with him. I also heard from mutual acquaintances that Emily married Lucas quickly. For me, that was the end of the story. However, as I mentioned, I still follow Eve on Instagram. One day out of the blue, Emily was there. It was like seeing a ghost. I didn't understand what was happening and asked Eve, "Wow, you found Emily. We haven't talked in a long time. How is she?" And Eve told me what had happened. To no one's surprise, Lucas had cheated on Emily. They had been married for 5 years and he had kicked her out of the house, which was now occupied by the other woman. I honestly couldn't feel sorry for her as it seemed like a big case of karma. Now Emily had no friends. She had excluded everyone from her life, and her only friends were those in common with Lucas because he was too jealous and afraid she would cheat on him. I've never seen a couple deserve each other so much, frankly. I was being a little petty for asking what had happened, I guess. Eve even asked me if I would be willing to go out with all the girls someday since she had moved back into the city recently. I politely declined. I decided I wasn't going to become a plan B friend for someone like Emily. Eve didn't insist. And I insist you join us live every weekday at 3 p.m. PST on every platform we're on: YouTube, Twitch, Facebook, YouTube, TikTok. Join us right now. Occasionally, I still see Eve posting pictures of the two of them together, but Emily seems so out of place. Noah moved to another country and has had a great career in his field going on. Emily looks like she never really found what she wants or even who she is. I would be wary if I was Eve, though. The end. I guess we will see. Wow.
Good for Noah. I guess karma did come around. What goes around comes around. It did take some time, and thankfully Noah figured it out. That's great. Who Emily moved on to, this guy's got to be making a lot of money or, or something. Or this guy's got power.
Yeah.
This guy's got something. He's got spunk.
That's the end of that story.
My friends made me feel excluded, so I showed up looking way too good at the wedding.
Rub it in their face.
I am so sorry for how long this is. I haven't told many people, and it all spilled out here like word vomit. I also apologize for any spelling or grammar errors. I have severe dyslexia, and writing is hard for me. I, 21 female, have been in the same friend group for 10 plus years, but I feel like none of them actually like me anymore.
No.
For some background, I met these girls through my ex-best friend. I will call her Brittany, 21 female, who invited me to a church youth group. By the way, this comes from user the Trash Panda 89P13. And if you want to submit your own stories, go to the r/OK Storytime subreddit. So, all of the girls were very welcoming, and I felt like we all became a group. I was over the moon to finally have friends, so I probably overlooked their treatment of me because of this. Everything was fine until we got into high school, where I began to notice a divide in the group. I started to see the group split into two: the preppy rich kids and my closest friends who didn't have as much money. We are all proud geeks with incredible fashion sense, and some of us also had dyed hair.
Okay.
While the group still hung out together, I realized the only reason everyone stuck together was that Brittany and I were so close, and she fell more to the preppy side. Slowly, the girls I was closer to all faded away until I and one other girl were the only ones left. This girl, let's call her Sarah, 22, female, is one of the kindest souls I've ever met. We're friends since the 4th grade and are still very close now. The preppy group began to exclude Sarah and I from their outings more openly, and we started to see posts with all of them together except for us. There were also times where they would flat out ignore me in conversation or tell me to talk more quietly and to wait my turn like I was a child they were babysitting. I am deaf. They know it, I know it, and they probably know it was a sensitive topic. It happened more and more until it was every time I saw them. It hurt me a little bit, but I figured it was just my social anxiety causing me to feel this way. Despite all of this, I still considered Brittany and I to be very close, and I thought there was no way she could let them treat me like this on purpose. But it kept happening, so I decided to bring it up with Sarah and some of the other girls I kept in touch with separately. They all agreed that they felt excluded by them, and that is why they left. This finally brings us to the last 6 months or so. The current issue I'm having involves 2 of the girls' weddings. A girl I'll call Lindsay, 22 female, whose wedding has now passed, and Brittany's, which is coming up next week. It all started when I saw a post on Instagram from Lindsay with a bunch of engagement photos. In the post were all the girls I thought were my friends on vacation for her engagement. It stung a bit, but I was in college at the time and convinced myself they didn't think to invite me because I would be busy with homework. I reached out to Sarah about the post, as she was not invited either. When away at art college, I was unable to attend the young adults group at church, and I figured she would know more as she stayed in our hometown and saw them every week. When I texted Sarah, I found out that they had been talking about the trip for months in front of her and never once invited her. She was deeply wounded, and hearing this sent a fire in my soul that I can't explain. It was fine when it was just me, but the blatant disregard for her feelings was something I had never thought these girls were capable of. After this, Lindsay's wedding shower and bachelorette party invitations were sent out. Neither Sarah or I were invited to the shower and were told it was only for close friends and family. I was invited to the bachelorette party but chose not to attend because of how they treated Sarah. On top of not inviting her, they held the shower at the church while Sarah was working there. She had to hear them all laughing and partying
so
downstairs.
Rude.
That's crazy.
Oh,
Dude.
And I bet they knew. I bet they absolutely
probably
knew
did.
that she was going to be working.
What
They're like, oh,
what
sorry.
makes people do this?
The shocking thing is probably, I feel like their excuse was, oh, sorry, we couldn't invite you because you were working. So.
When they saw her, they all just ignored her and kept walking. Sarah later told me that it was not just close friends and family, but a lot of rich older women from our church and all the girls but us. Oh, I get it. It's classist.
Classism.
I forgot. It's money.
It's
It's all about
classism.
class. Cool. Yeah, you know what? No matter how much money you have, you can't buy class. Ugh. We attended the wedding, but have not spoken to her outside of group meetings since. This brings me to Brittany's wedding. Sarah was not invited to shower, bachelorette party, or wedding. I was basically blowing steam out of my ears by this point, but neither of us felt like we could bring anything up because she was the bride. One by one, I saw Brittany ask our friends to be bridesmaids, skipped over me, and invited her college friends instead. When it came time to go to her shower and bachelorette party, I saw I was the only girl there not in the wedding. At this point, I knew my friendship with this girl was over after her wedding, and I just put on a smile so as not to ruin her big day. During the party, they talked about wedding prep and how excited they were while I sat in the corner. Somehow, the topic of dresses was brought up. I mentioned that I had bought a beautiful dress for her wedding, and I was excited to wear it. When I showed her the picture of the dress, she basically asked me to pick a different dress because her bridesmaids were all wearing different shades of green, and it would be confusing. I sadly put my phone away and shortly after excused myself from the event. The dress cost me a bit of money and it fits perfectly on me. I had no other nice dresses and had to buy one specifically to fit her formal wedding. I was pretty upset, but started looking for a new dress. Oof, no, just don't go.
Don't go.
This may be a bit petty, but this is for me and Sarah. I decided I was going to look fabulous and go overboard on my outfit. She said formal, so I will be doing the most. I'm an art student and have a pretty good sense of personal style.
Oh, wait, this is important because she said that they were all really fashionable.
Yeah, we're all very fashionable.
Mm-hmm.
Fashionable nerds.
Yes.
The best kind. I picked a light blue off-the-shoulder dress with a slit on the side and a beautiful draping bell sleeves. It's tightly fitting on the top, but doesn't hug my legs too tightly, so it's wedding appropriate. I also have a pair of white platformed high heels and lots of my jewelry to go with it. I dare say I do look hot as the lake of fire itself.
I dare say I do look hot.
While I would never purposefully outshine the bride as she was my friend, I will definitely be standing out from the rest of the crowd. Knowing her and the other preppy girls in the wedding party, this will just be noticeable enough to annoy them, as my clothing choices have bothered them in the past, even though it's none of their business. After the wedding, I plan on finally telling these seagulls how they affected me and Sarah over the years. I want to drive home how horrible they were and that I want nothing to do with them outside of church events anymore. But before I do, I wanted to get some opinions on if I'm the a-hole in the situation for responding this way. Should I try to talk with these girls first to try and save our friendship of 10 plus years, or just let them go with one last petty act?
I don't think you need to talk to them. I don't think it's going to save the friendship at all.
These people don't value you as a friend. They don't
it's
see
like,
you
don't,
as an equal.
Don't even try. There's no point.
There's nothing for you to save because they're basically your enemies at this point.
And then just knowing that it would be petty to do this.
For sure.
But that's your own prerogative. If you want to be petty, then you gotta be petty. Just like be
Buddha,
aware that it would be petty.
Would the Buddha do this?
No.
No.
But you're not
Are
Buddha.
we all the Buddha all the time?
No.
No.
We don't always need to be the Buddha.
Have you been the Buddha, arguably, for like this whole story?
For 10 years? Yes.
All right, we do have the update. Let's see what OP
Let's see
did.
what we got.
Thank you all for the suggestions and comments. It really opened my eyes to how these people really see me and that I should not be wasting my time with them anymore. Sadly, yes, I did go to the wedding, and while there, I counted at least 5 other girls in green. I felt like not going was too far after I already RSVP'd, and yes, I was the best dressed out of all the guests.
Heck yeah, man.
After the wedding, I was talking with my old small group leader when the bridal party entered the reception hall. We both walked over to say hi, and all of them proceeded to walk straight past me and only speak to her.
Dang, man.
There was no one else my age there, so I took as much food as I could carry and a glass of champagne and found a quiet corner to drink the night away. When I saw Brittany come out with her new husband, I gave them time to make their rounds before going up to congratulate them. She was very short with me, and after that, she never came over again. And by the way, you can come over and join us and listen to full episodes with stories like this on iHeartRadio and Spotify and Apple Podcasts and any other podcast platform you can daydream up in your pretty little noggin. Just search OK Storytime and you will have the entire world at your fingertips, the power of the sun in the palm of your hand.
Mm-hmm.
So I ended up just leaving before cake.
Aww.
And went to my boyfriend's house where he danced with me in his living room instead.
Okay.
You left me?
Yes, because you look freaking hot, dude.
Oh,
You look
hottie,
freaking
hottie,
hot.
boom
Hottie-
body.
Hottie alert. Hottie alert in the living room.
Hottie boom body.
He probably said, ooh, who's this hottie? I'm dating her? Ooh.
with a great night to a weird and awkward day. As for me and Sarah, we went out drinking Thursday and Friday before the wedding, both wearing white, and again on Sunday. It didn't do anything to Brittany, but it made us feel better. And as I said before, I will not be talking to these girls ever again.
Good.
And
that is the end of the
is
story.
the end
But yeah,
of that
good
story.
job, OP. Leave them in the past.
My sister excluded her best friend from her bridal party. Then she got outshone at her wedding?
Get outshone, you dim light.
Throwaway because I don't want any family members finding my real account. My sister Ann, 29 female, has been best friends with Ruby, 30 female, for as long as I, 25 female, can remember. So growing up, Ruby was like a second big sister to me. One thing that is important to note is that Ruby has always had the most outrageous fashion sense possible. She's the person that would wear those runaway outfits that you think no one would actually wear. By the way, this comes from Throwaway Sister Wedding on the r/OK Storytime subreddit. So, Annie got engaged pre-COVID. Almost as it happened, she started being really weird to Ruby. When she made me maid of honor, I was kind of surprised because they always sworn to be the maid of honor at each other's wedding. But I am her blood sister, so it wasn't that weird. But I was completely blown away when she made a group chat and I found out that Ruby wasn't even a bridesmaid. I think she doesn't want Ruby there because she knows she's going to wear the most extravagant thing at her wedding and she does not want to have to deal with that drama. Both me and my mom tried to talk to her about it since we figured out they had an argument or something, but she would only say that Ruby didn't care anyway. I know that Ruby was hurt, but she didn't want any drama, so I agreed to let it go. Throughout the whole wedding process, my mom kept asking Anne if she would invite Ruby, if she would ask Ruby's opinion, etc., etc., but Anne refused to have any contact with her or talk about anything wedding related with her whatsoever. On Saturday, my sister was married. She had a beautiful outside socially distanced wedding, but she was seething the whole time because of Ruby's dress. It wasn't at all outrageous by Ruby's standards, so I don't believe that she wanted to outshine my sister. She wore quite a simple wedding dress, but that was her choice. As maid of honor, I of course went to her fitting, and that was literally the one she chose. Anne has been cursing Ruby out, saying that their friendship is over ever since, like she hadn't been ignoring her all throughout the lockdown. Finally, I just said that she'd been friends with Ruby most of her life, and she knows what she dresses like, and that she should expect this. If it was that much of a problem, she would have found a way to mention it to her, or just made her a bridesmaid. Anne lost it with me. She sent Ruby some really horrible messages after she screamed at me. She didn't say a word to me at all of yesterday, but she's bad-mouthing me to our dad, who is on her side. My mom has told Anne that she should apologize to Ruby for the nasty messages she sent and for yelling at me, so Annie isn't talking to her either. I don't know what's going on, but Ruby swears on her life that they didn't have an argument or anything pre-COVID. Anne says that that's none of my business and I should be supporting my real sister. My dad agrees with her, and she's rallied the other bridesmaids against me, so I don't know. Am I the a-hole? Just to clear some things up, before we get into the clarifications, what did Ruby do exactly? Was she even at the wedding?
We don't have an ID yet on Ruby's presence at the wedding. She was taken out of the bridal party.
Let's get some clarifications. We might be getting some more answers. Ruby didn't wear a wedding dress or anything really outrageous. It was a dark red bodycon dress, satiny material. There were lots of people in form-fitting dresses. The bridesmaids were wearing them, and she didn't look out of place. So other bridesmaids were wearing these like nice fitted dresses. Edit again, some of you people are ridiculous. LMAO, assuming the absolute worst case scenario. It wasn't a spaghetti strap dress that just barely covered her booty. It was an appropriate length and had a long sleeves. If this needs saying twice, the bridesmaids were wearing bodycon dresses. So were many other guests. It wasn't a particularly traditional affair. Nobody was offended by our figures. Ruby's dress didn't massively stick out. Ruby is very attractive. She's always been, but I never thought it was an issue for Annie before. Ruby and Anne have been best friends for 25 years. They didn't grow apart or anything. They stayed in constant contact even as adults. And then Anne suddenly wasn't talking to Ruby anymore. My mom and I weren't trying to be controlling. We were worried. We assumed that something really bad had happened for them to cut contact overnight. When Anne refused to talk about it, my mom was only more worried because she normally is an open book. I have a conspiracy theory. Anne's partner has a crush on Ruby.
My conspiracy theory, Anne is mad that this person's hotter than her. That's it. I think if you're getting married at your wedding to your husband, if someone is hot in your proximity, it shouldn't be like friendship ending, world ending territory. Be secure. You're getting married.
Another context. I don't love Ruby more than Annie or anything like that. The only reason I'm so close to Ruby is because Anne used to be close to Ruby. They were basically inseparable, so I grew up tagging after both of them. Of course, I love Anne very much. I just think she's being unreasonable in the situation. Ruby was always going to be at the actual wedding. The phrasing was bad on my part, sorry. When my mom was suggesting that Anne invite Ruby, it was to the wedding prep things like dress shopping, etc. I don't know if Dave, groom, has feelings for Ruby. I have never thought that. They've met many times, and there's never been any signs that he does. I definitely do not think it is an affair, because then surely my sister wouldn't want to marry Dave, and neither would Ruby want to be at the wedding at all. Ruby doesn't have a history of going after Anne's boyfriends or crushes. We have an update. I think this point may be proven wrong.
That the husband doesn't have an interest. That makes the most sense on why she'd be so upset after being friends for 25 years and she's been hot the whole time. It's like, you already know your hot friend is going to be at the wedding, but it's because your husband said something about how your friend is so hot.
Lady in red.
Update. Based on some of the advice I'm receiving, I was going to tell Anne this morning how much she means for me and that I'm here for her. But she's seething again, so I'm not trying to. Dave asked me if I could talk to Anne, because they've also apparently had a massive fight because he tried to defend Ruby on the wedding night.
I mean, I would defend her too.
This is the first time he's ever asked me for help with their relationship, so he's clearly at a loss. I said I was just as confused, and we didn't even know why she wasn't in the bridal party, so he should just try and talk it out with Anne. This is where it gets weird. Dave said that the reason Ruby wasn't in their wedding party was because he wanted her as a best woman, and Anne wanted her as a maid of honor. But Anne wouldn't budge and said that they should just drop her from both parties to be fair. He said that she explained it to Ruby, and that's why they had a fight, because Ruby wanted to be included.
This red dress symbolizes something.
First of all, I've never really considered that someone would be that insane to wear a red dress to a wedding because they're like, I have slept with the groom or the bride or whatever. But like, is that what this means? Is that what's going on here? Is Ruby trying to be like, fine, you don't want me in your bridal party? Guess I'll let you know I slept with your husband.
Dude, maybe. Why does he want her in the wedding party?
All right. I want her. Oh, I want her. Nobody gets her. And she doesn't get a say. She just gets blindsided.
I said okay and just hung up, but the more I think about it, the more confused I am. If they had a massive fight about Ruby being maid of honor, surely Ruby would remember. Also, I don't know why Dave would want Ruby as his best woman when, to my understanding, he only met her after he started dating Anne. I really am taking your advice not to meddle to heart, which is a nightmare because now curiosity is totally piqued. So I won't bring it up. It's possible that this is all I'll ever know, but this will bug me to my grave. But I have made a vow not to push Anne anymore on it. Thank you, everyone, for your comments. Thank you all to the not the a-hole people for reassuring me that I'm not the one acting crazy. Update 2. I'm even more confused. Dave called me up about 30 minutes ago asking in a very angry tone of voice if any of his groomens behaved inappropriately towards me. I asked what, and he asked again. I could hear Anne in the background shouting something. I said that they had been perfect gentlemen at the wedding and that I hadn't had any contact with them since. He then asked me if Ruby knew that she was meant to be the best woman. I said not to my understanding, but it was possible that I don't know, as both she and Anne had been quite secretive about what happened between them and that he'd be better off asking them themselves. He laughed and hung up. Ruby has texted me asking what's happening and if I knew about the best woman / maid of honor thing. Just now I got a message from one of the bridesmaids saying that if Dave calls me, I shouldn't answer him. Anna's on the phone to my dad screaming, it sounds like. I have no clue what's going on, but I think somewhere in this mess is the truth of what's actually happening. Everything seems to be exploding. I now think that the bridesmaids, or at least that particular one, are involved. And if things keep happening at this pace, I think I should eventually find out what in the flying F is happening.
Conspiracy theory. Prior to the marriage, Ruby and husband were in swingers groups together. And the bride does not know about this. Or knew about it, but was like, all right, I know about it, never talk about it, and we'll be okay.
Update 3. There's been a lot of shouting and tears today. Honestly, I'm exhausted, but so many people have commented for the update. So here it is. I'm still kind of in shock and has been lying to just about everyone. The story is very complicated and long. This list is actually what I used to wrap my own head around. It's all the facts, and I have in chronological order. Number 1, Dave has been to jail and is an ex-substance abuser. He met Ruby before he met Ann. After he recovered, he was really struggling with money, and Ruby helped him a lot. He considers her to be one of his closest friends. Okay, that makes sense about the best woman thing.
My swinger theory is crumbling before my eyes.
2 years later, Dave was doing well at his job and much more stable and functional. Around this time, Ruby introduced him to Ann. 3. Ann was very reluctant to have a relationship with Dave because of his past, but she had strong feelings for him. Eventually, they began dating, but she was still ashamed of the person he used to be. So she told us that they met over a dating app. Dave consented to this at the time.
Boo on all of that.
As Dave became more comfortable with himself and the relationship became more serious, he told Ann that she needed to be honest with us about his history. She agreed to tell us, but she didn't. She told Dave that she had and wrote a fake letter from my family about how we were all really grateful for his honesty and accepted him. She told Ruby that my parents had reacted really badly, so Ruby never brought it up with Dave or my family because she thought it was still a very sensitive topic.
Send this girl into the black hole that turns you into spaghetti. What are you doing? If you're so ashamed of this guy, why are you marrying him, you absolute idiot? He deserves better than you. You are trash. And you know what? Sometimes in life, our partners, when we learn about their past, sometimes it does change the way that we think about them. It does change the way that we feel about them. And that's okay. But, you know, if that's the way it is, then that's the way it is. Move on with your life. Don't stick around and lie to your entire family about the nature of y'all's relationship and the nature of his past. Like, you're not doing anyone any service. And neither are you yourself, Dave, by staying in a relationship where somebody's clearly ashamed of who you used to be. Keyword used to be. People change. People grow.
I've had very close family members go through substance abuse, and through miraculous changes of life and behavior through finding, religion and these other things. They changed. I've seen this happen firsthand. It's just crazy that Ann could not get over this and see how this person can change. When Dave proposed, Ann started freaking out about the wedding. Dave wanted people from his support group to be there, Ruby as his best woman, etc., which would expose the lies. But she didn't want to tell us who Dave was or Dave that she had lied to him. So she decided to continue lying instead of coming clean.
So you let this lie grow into a dark monster.
If anyone should be embarrassed, it should be Ann. Embarrassed about herself.
So Ann pretended to be really upset that she couldn't have Ruby as her maid of honor so she could make the argument that she should be dropped from both wedding parties. She told Dave that she had explained their decisions to Ruby and that Ruby had taken issue with it to keep him happy. In reality, she knew that if Ruby knew she was meant to be best woman, it could easily get back to me and Mom and then raise questions from us about Ruby's relationship with Dave. So she didn't tell Ruby anything at all, and that's why Ruby was so confused about what happened and couldn't think of anything. 2. Ann told Dave and all his friends from his support group that they shouldn't mention the substance abuse in speeches or even casual conversation because it was a sensitive subject for certain family members before the wedding. Told the bridesmaids so many lies about Ruby. She told them that she had a habit of causing scenes and that she was going to try and sleep with the groomsmen, that one of them was an ex-boyfriend of hers that dumped her, that she would get way too wasted. Essentially, she painted Ruby as a disaster waiting to happen so the bridesmaids wouldn't like her, and also that they could keep her away from certain people, specifically the ones that also knew Dave at the wedding. And also told the bridesmaids that the only reason that Ruby was invited is because I'd idolize her, so they wouldn't repeat any of the lies she told to me.
This person needs to be locked up. This level of lying is disturbing, especially about the guy you're going to marry and one of his closest friends that helped him in a time of need.
Very premeditative on a lot of different levels. After the wedding, Anne put on her enormous meltdown about the dress. The bridesmaids obviously didn't have a very positive opinion on Ruby, so they were easy to convince that it was meant to be a genuine slight. My dad did what Anne apparently expected everyone to do by caving immediately because she was the bride. If me and my mom had done the same, Anne would basically have used it as an excuse to cut Ruby out of everyone's life. She tried to do the same with Dave's groomsmen by insisting to them that they had said inappropriate things about the bridesmaids. The idea was to basically remove anybody that knew the truth about Dave from the general social circle so it wouldn't come up again. Dave smelled a rat. He asked what exactly the issue was with Ruby's dress and what exactly his friends had said. Anne panicked and accused him of not loving her, choosing his friends over her, etc., and turned into a massive argument. Dave was mad and very suspicious, so he started calling people up to try and figure out what had happened. A couple of the bridesmaids said that Anne was telling the truth about the groomsmen. She asked/pressured them to, but most were kind of weirded out by the request, and I think they successfully got that across to Dave. He called me to ask if I knew what was going on, and told Dave that I was just like him, caring about Ruby more than her, and also that I wasn't there when it happened, but the timing of the story didn't match up, so Dave called me anyway. That was the weird phone call. At this point, he knew she was sprouting BS, so she asked her up front what was going on. She broke down and told Dave everything. He was fuming. He texted us to let us know about his past, and then basically evicted Anne out. She came to us where she then had to explain everything again.
I mean, he's not taking her back, right? He's leaving now, right? We're getting a divorce now. Because if you married me and the whole time you had lied to your family about me, I don't think I would be able to look you in the face and not just despise you. So, divorce.
Absolutely.
Just leave her. She's trash.
Anne is absolutely shaken. I never considered her capable of this kind of deception and manipulation, and I don't think she has ever done something like this before. Contrary to what some commenters seem to believe, I don't hate my sister. I feel sorry for her, even though I'm really hurt by what she did, because she feels guilty and absolutely miserable because she's worried that things will never be worked out with Dave.
They shouldn't be worked out with Dave. Also, let your opinion of your sister be changed, dude. She's a crazy liar manipulator. This is an insane amount of lying and deceit to level at your own husband and family.
She's gone to bed now, very upset because her mom won't even look at her. She's fuming that Annie would deceive her and hurt her, and so many other people like this. I do understand where she's coming from. My dad is also very shocked and hurt. Anne texted Ruby. She sent her a message explaining and apologizing, but obviously Ruby really is angry and upset. She just told her that she couldn't speak to her right now, but maybe she'd call her in the morning once they both had the chance to calm down. Dave is probably the most hurt out of everyone, and I understand why. He wouldn't speak to Anne, but he did tell me that he really thought that he had our acceptance and that the letter she had written to him had been his most treasured possession ever since he received it, and to find out that it was false was absolutely crushing. Bro probably has that letter either framed or like in a very special spot, like in a box that he keeps all his other childhood memories, and then every time he sees it, he feels like gratitude because someone actually accepted him for who he was, and that all the work that he put into himself was actually appreciated. For that to be a lie?
I need OP to hold her sister to a little bit more than I still love my sister. Like, you need to be worried about anything your sister's ever said to you now and anything she ever will say to you in the future. This is not someone you can ever trust. The intricacy of the web she spun is unbelievably like an inhuman thing. I can't imagine being Dave and realizing that the letter I thought was written by her family and was just a complete fabrication. I don't think I'd ever speak to Anne again. I wouldn't even be upset. I wouldn't be mad. I wouldn't be sad. I would just be like wiped, flat, nothingness. I don't care. Who's this creature speaking to me? Go talk to someone else. I don't know who you are.
I feel so bad for him. I told him that we did accept him for who he was and that nobody blamed him, but I don't think that helped much. He has asked for distance from our family, and I understand why. I'm not sure when he will be willing to speak to Anne again or if he wants to be her husband after this. I wouldn't blame him if he goes on and finds someone else. Thanks, Reddit. It turned out everyone was way off base, although I don't think anyone could have predicted this. But a lot of comments were very insightful and gave me food for thought, despite everyone kind of looking in the wrong directions. Except the weirdos about the dress. You know who you are. And we got an update 2 weeks after this fight. The past 2 weeks have been very stressful. Anne and Mom have been fighting and crying for most of it. We've learned that this deception of Anne was not out of the blue. She has had this obsession with her image for a very long time. She confessed a lot of stuff from secondary school and her job. Some of it was worrying and some of it was really scary and manipulative. I feel so distant from the person she has become. I think she's coming around to the point that you should be worried about who your sister has become. I think it's happening now. There's tension between us that I'm not sure will ever go away, even though it really pains me as well because she's my sister. Once my dad heard some of the revelations, he decided that Anne should go to a therapist. Anne really struggled against the decision, which led to a massive fight between her and my dad. I've never seen my dad get so angry. Neither has she, which is probably why she eventually agreed. The therapist is supposed to help Anne process her emotions after everything that has happened, and also hopefully get to the root of her problem. A lot of the comments suggested that our family wasn't healthy in the way we interact with each other. I'm conflicted on this because, on one hand, me and my mom were right that something was very wrong, but then that doesn't mean that we didn't behave badly, if that makes sense.
It doesn't. Where was your bad behavior?
I think maybe in the dad's enabling part, like, oh, baby, it's fine. And then OP and the mom were like super against it. So I suggested family therapy. My parents are looking into it. Hopefully we can learn a little bit more about boundaries and each other and eventually move on from this. Annie has been talking a lot to Ruby. From the sounds of it, Ruby is still very upset, but I have been taking the advice not to meddle so much in their relationship, so I'm learning to leave it to them. Me and Ruby still speak a lot, but not about Anne. Dave sent me a message 2 days ago that I think has sadly resolved this terrible situation. After learning that this is part of a pattern of behavior, she doesn't think that he wants to be in a marriage with Anne at all.
Cue the Orson Welles stand up in the theater and clap, and that's what we're doing. This is good.
As he feels that she hasn't only hurt him deeply, but deceived him about the type of person she is.
Yeah, it's like, that's what I mean. It's like, I don't even know who you are. Why are you talking to me? You're not my wife. You're not my fiance. I don't even know who you are. Stop talking to me. Get away from me.
She was embarrassed by his past. I know from Ruby that he is also seeking therapy and confided in friends about what happened, so he has a strong support system around him. I'm not getting involved with him other than that, as I think he deserves distance from my family after everything. But knowing he's okay does make me feel a little bit better. And guys, after the story, if you want to feel a little bit better, go to your favorite freaking podcast platform. Search up OK Storytime. And we have layers upon layers of stories just like this one. Go there, and you'll feel better instantly. Dakota!
We're right where we want to be from Dave's perspective.
I think everyone got a mental checkup. They're like, whoa, all came to a come to Jesus meeting. I was like, okay, we're not like really vibing with each other. And definitely is not the person we think she is. And she needs to rework herself from the base, and everyone sees their mistakes. I like this.
I think the only way that's going to happen, though, is group therapy. I don't think if she goes to a therapist that she's going to get like a real change or a real turnaround. I think it has to be within the context and the setting of the family. Because, you know, when you lie to your therapist, you don't get anything out of it. And Anne has shown herself to be quite the liar. So probably need deeper accountability than just herself to get anything out of it.
But Anne has taken this news badly. When she first got the message, I think she had a panic attack and was breathing really quickly and shaking and crying. She knows that Dave learned about her past from Ruby and is absolutely furious with Ruby for telling him. She's just as preoccupied with the thought of being someone divorced as she is with the fact that Dave is leaving her. Because she's really focused on her image. So now that she's a divorcee, she's like freaking out about that. And then now she's like, oh wait, but also now Dave is leaving.
Well, that's why she was freaking out. She's like, I don't want to be the one married to someone who had substance abuse problems. You sick idiot. He divorced you. Live with it.
I really hope that the therapist helps her get better. And although I'm not taking it as hard as my mom, I do feel guilty for not noticing this sooner because she's just not well. That's the end of that story.
My ex confessed her feelings for me, but we are both married.
That's why you don't go to high school reunions.
So this will be a weird one. I made a throwaway for it, as I think it's a pretty unique situation that this person in question could very easily figure out is about them. I don't want them knowing my main, even if they have or use Reddit. I, 35 male, am happily married with 2 children. My wife, 32 female, and I have been together for 8 years, married for 4. By the way, this comes from user thrownaway_rebound on the r/OK Storytime subreddit. So, we were out shopping in our hometown when we ran into my ex-friend, her parents, and her children. She moved out of the state over 10 years ago, and I haven't seen her since, nor have we had any contact other than Facebook. Happy birthday wishes. Do you do that with your exes?
Nope, sorry.
She is married with 2 kids of her own. Anyway, on to the situation. My father-in-law and her father are friendly with each other. They're both retired military, and they occasionally have breakfast together with their other retired friends. When we ran into each other, my ex, dad congratulated my wife and I on our children. We figured my father-in-law told him we're expecting our 3rd child. I saw my ex-friend look at my wife's belly and then acted distant for the rest of the exchange, whereas she was friendly starting off. We traded pleasantries and said goodbye. My wife and I continue our shopping. By the time we're done, I check my phone and see I have a Facebook message from that ex-friend. Ex-friend says, "It was good to see you again." I say, "You too, the family looks good." Ex-friend, "Yours too. Would you want to grab coffee and catch up? I'm in town for a couple more days." OP, "We're actually pretty busy, otherwise I would be down. I'm sorry." Ex-friend, "I understand. Adulting. Can I ask you a question?" OP, "Sure. What's up?" Ex-friend, "Was I just not your type?" OP, "What do you mean?" Ex-friend, "I'm asking, what did I do wrong?" OP, didn't respond as this was out of nowhere.
Facts. All right, I like that.
Ex-friend says, "I pursued you for years. We were inseparable for years, and you never gave us a real chance. I loved you. Our families loved us. Our friends loved us together. You just never committed all the way for us. You wouldn't even have spicy sleep with me, and I need to know why. Was I not good enough? Could you not see yourself married to me and having a family together?"
Ooh. Hey, what does your husband Greg think about this?
We'll talk to your husband about that. I didn't respond and showed the messages to my wife. She knows of this girl and my reasoning for her and I growing apart. Mostly because we see her family everywhere, and she asked. My wife told me to be honest with her, but I'm not sure if that's right. It feels mean. I'm going to give my point of view on our friendship, and I'm hoping I can get some advice on where to go from here. So, basically, she and I met through friends in high school. I was very interested, but she was dating someone at that time. She ended up asking me out a month or so later, and we went on dates and kissed a few times, though we never had any conversation of being official, hence me calling her friend and not girlfriend. One night while riding in the car, her, who I thought was her ex-boyfriend, called her and asked her when she'd be over. She didn't have it on speaker, but I could still hear the conversation. She told him, "I can't talk right now." And he asked, "Who are you with?" She didn't tell him. He later figured it out and messaged me on Facebook asking if I knew they were still together. I apologized and said I didn't, and I would cut things off. I called her, and she started crying, saying she didn't have the courage to tell me they were still together, but she liked me so much and was going to break up with him. I cut her off anyway.
Ooh.
It's one of those things where, oh, wow, you're cheating on 2 guys and you don't get either of them.
Yeah.
She just wants more.
I need more attention.
I like you so much. Guess what? I guarantee you she's saying that to the other guy, too.
Ooh.
I like you so much. He's just a friend.
He's just a friend. Don't worry about him.
Fast forward a few more months, and she reaches out, and we go through the same motions. Her wanting to be with me, but always having another guy messaging her that I would catch out of the corner of my eye. This lasted embarrassingly for years. Throughout college and our early 20s, it was always the same. She'd reach out, we'd reconnect, and things began getting serious again. I'd check her social media and see she just broke up with someone. We even went on vacation to the mountains together for a weekend, and the same thing. She had literally just been there a month ago with her ex. The trip with me was her idea.
Maybe she wants you, but needs to make sure that with other guys, she doesn't want that. She would like to do the activity with you by checking with the other guys first and then do them with you. That's what I think.
I'm going to say this right now. She sucks, but also OP for falling for this many times. This seems like it happened more than 3 times. Where it's like, he's like, this happened countless times. The same motions over and over again. So you're kind of enabling her and following her in her footsteps. She's treating you like a little puppy. The worst part is both of our families really did love us together. My parents were never rude to my girlfriends, but would ask me how ex-friend is doing these days. Or snide remarks about how her parents miss me. Heck, even my now father-in-law at one point mentioned that ex's dad brought up how he really thought I'd be his son one day. I confided in my friends years ago that I'm always just a rebound or backup plan, and that's why I can never commit or get more physical with her. They told me just to sleep with her when she comes calling and don't pursue anything more. No, don't do that. The problem was I wanted more, but felt used. Anyways, every time we would plan things out where spicy sleep was more than likely on the table, I'd see a guy message her or I'd see a post on social media and it just ruined my enthusiasm. When I say that, I mean literally, it crushed my confidence every single time. Again, like I said, you're like her little puppy dog. She just wants you as a little lap dog and just like, oh yeah, let me play with you for a little bit. No, don't give her the satisfaction. Don't keep doing it. But it seems like OP keeps doing it. One of my best friends told me I didn't have to pay attention to all of that nonsense and could have just had my fun with her. Also, don't do that. Didn't mean I had to chase a relationship with knowing I was always a rebound. That felt crappy to me. I had other girlfriends here and there, but I wanted this girl. We just clicked, you know? But it's like some sort of goddamn mystical being was showing me a sign every single time things were going to progress our relationship. So every time he was like, oh, I should do this, a guy's messaging her, or like he sees like, oh, she just broke up with someone, but like there's something. It's always something. I just didn't want her to be getting over someone else or having someone on a back burner when we'd reconnect. And that's what she does. She sees you as her plan B or C.
Yeah, you're not second choice, buddy.
You're first choice.
I think she likes to do this thing where she's always going after her next guy. So whenever she's with you, she's always after her next guy.
She has you in like her back pocket whenever it's like, oh, that's speed dial. Like, oh, I need you. Like, I just need comfort. I need emotion. I need someone to talk to.
She's after her next guy, calling me her next guy.
And guess what? OP's feeding into it every single time. I think he wants to be her friend, but also he's like, I really like you. I really like her. That's the one.
I need to see a picture of these people. That's what I need.
Yeah, maybe she's just super hot. Maybe that's my own insecurity, but I know how I felt and it didn't feel good. So I slowly distanced myself. After a short amount of time passed, I met my wife. She met her husband and our lives moved on with little to no contact until the other day. I haven't responded to the messages and it's been 2 days. I was thinking of just lying and saying it's not her fault or just not responding, but my wife is insisting I tell her the whole thing. I know this is a word wall, but I'm honestly conflicted. Why are you conflicted? You are married and you have children. She is married and she has children.
I mean, if your wife's excited about this, she can like type up a message and send it for you.
I mean, I would just be like, yeah, ghosting her is one thing.
He's like, I'm done with this. Why are we doing this still?
I don't think that's why he's conflicted.
Ooh, he still has those like feelings.
I told my wife I was going to ask others for their opinion, and I'm considering the internet as my others. We have some relevant comments here. The Taco Life, OP. She's doing exactly the same thing she always did with you. I would bet all the cash in my wallet if you were able to look into her life, her marriage is crumbling, or her husband isn't paying enough attention to her. You were the great white whale that got away, and she is trying to test the water to see if you're down to do the same old song and dance. Now, even more of a challenge since you have a happy family and marriage. Don't engage with her. This sounds exactly like the same cycle you described from your young adulthood. Like I said, little puppy. What do you think?
Yeah, just keep living life. I wouldn't respond.
I wouldn't respond. I would tell her, like, that's gross, and if you keep pursuing, I'm going to tell your husband.
I'm a screenshot away from ruining your marriage. Please stop talking to me.
We have an update. Thank you, everyone, for your responses. I decided to listen to the majority and responded to ex-friend, let's call her Ava. Let's call her Ava. The response was well received, and we chatted the rest of the week and met up on the weekend before Easter. The short of it is we're both leaving our partners. What?
Dude, that was not on my bingo card.
Where's the referee? Like, no, yellow flag. Ava and I are gonna try this relationship again now that we completely open up to each other about our true feeling. Thank you all for the encouragement to do this. Couldn't have done it without you. April Fools! I would never. I hate when they do that. You really had us in the first. half there. They always do. They're so good at that.
And then we went to the cabins and saw Bigfoot and the Loch Ness Monster.
And the aliens abducted us. The real update is pretty anticlimactic, unfortunately. I ended up just never responding to Ava.
Nice.
It had already been 5 days by the time I read through every response and decided just to let it go. My wife was fine with that, but told me to block her if she messages me again. Smart. We did a couple Easter egg hunts with different family members yesterday, including at my father-in-law's. They have a decent-sized property and host quite a few people, so I wasn't surprised to see non-family members. I was, however, surprised when Ava's parents were there with her children. After all the adults scattered and hid the eggs, and the kids started their search, Ava's dad came over to chat with me, nothing out of the ordinary, and we shot the crap for a few minutes. By the way, you can shoot the crap with us for more than a few minutes because you can listen to full episodes with stories just like this. Just go to Spotify, Apple Podcast, or your favorite podcast app and search OK Storytime. There is a little bit more to this, but what do you think? Was that the right thing to ghost her?
Yeah, it was.
Okay.
He's already done it time and time again. He's married now in a committed relationship.
He really had me with that. I was like, oh no. I hate when you people do that, but like, it's funny.
I should have called it. I should have been like, yeah, that happened to me once before.
No, you did the right thing. You have a family. You're happy. Good on you. This never happens, but OP communicated this with his wife.
That is true.
He was like, look, and she was like, okay, well, what are you gonna do about it? You have my full support.
True.
But back to the story. Towards the end, I asked if the kids were staying with them for Easter, and he basically told me Ava and her husband were having some troubles, and they needed some time alone to sort things out.
Who would have called it?
We're not shocked here. He didn't go into specifics, so I don't know exactly what the troubles were, but congratulations to those of you who called that one. For now, this should conclude the story. If she does happen to reach out again, and I feel it's worth letting you all know, then I will. Otherwise, thank you again. We have one more relevant comment, and it's the same person, the Taco Life. Oh my God, I knew it. I called this on the original post that she and her husband were having trouble, and she was just trying to get the same old ego boost / even more of one because you are clearly very happily married. Congrats on the baby, by the way, OP. You win the Reddit Gold Star of the Month for handling this like a god dang hero. Excellent husband, and your wife is an awesome teammate / bad butt herself. Good job, OP. She clearly just needed some attention, and even though you were married, had moved on, and she'd be a homewrecker, she didn't care. Even asking, why didn't you want me? Why? After 10 freaking years is obviously fishing for compliments and an ego boost, especially since she was the reason you never worked out. Maddening. You did the right thing 100%. Edit, spelling error, that annoyed me. OP says, thank you. I noticed on the original post you talked about it possibly being competitive. My wife said the same based on her reaction to the pregnancy news. Either competitive or possibly fertility issues after 2 children. To be honest, she's put a lot more thought into reasoning than I have. And that's the end of that story.
That's a good teamwork right there. I like this. Good job.
You did the right thing. Congrats.
And that's it for that story.
My son's best friend came from a troubled home and I was asked to foster him. Wow, that's a big commitment, big ask. I have one son, Henry, age 12. Henry is best friends with a boy named Archie, age 14. It has always been clear that Archie comes from a troubled home. From what I can gather, and I do not have the full information, Archie's mom is a user of illicit substances, and Archie has been on the at-risk register for a long while. Honestly, I don't know why it has taken them this long to decide he's being moved to foster care. I was told that the school had recommended me and asked to see if I could take him in. They said it would likely be long-term until he turns 18. I honestly didn't know what to say. I was in shock. I have been unofficially supporting Archie for a while now. I pick him up from his house and drop him off at school with my son. He spends a lot of weekends at my place. On days when he doesn't come to my place, I make sure to pack him something to eat when I pick him up because he told me that his school lunch is his only meal most days. I buy him soap and deodorant and I even wash his clothes for him. But supporting however I can and taking him on fully is a big jump. I'm a single dad. I have a decent job, but I'm far from well off. I live in a small 2-bedroom house, meaning Henry and Archie would have to share a room, which they do now when Archie stays, but it's only for short bursts. Plus, there's the responsibility of taking on another human. I was told that they had a lack of foster cares in the local area, so if I didn't agree to take him, it is likely that he would have to move counties and schools. I don't want that. I was already having Archie stay with me for the 2-week Christmas holiday, so I asked if I could think about it and give him the firm answer in the new year. They agreed. Archie has not yet been informed about any of this. I've tried to make this a
normal Christmas for him as much as possible. My heart is telling me, of course you're going to take that little boy in, but my brain is worried about the responsibility and cost of taking on another mouth to feed, another boy to clothe. At the same time, I keep thinking about Archie's situation. He has already had such a rough start in life, and I know that he needs stability and care more than anything else. I can't bear the thought of him being uprooted again, losing his school, his friends, and the small semblance of normality he has here. I keep asking myself if I can really give him what he needs, and I don't know if I have all the answers right now. I've always taught Henry the importance of kindness, and I see how much he cares about Archie too. Part of me feels that this might not just be me taking on more responsibility, it's about giving him the chance to grow up with a sense of love and belonging. So I suppose I'm left balancing what's practical with what feels right in my heart. And I'm leaning towards saying yes. I spoke to my own mom about it, and she thinks it's an awful idea. She's worried I'm biting off more than I can chew, especially as a single dad. She reminded me that I already have a ton on my plate with work, the house, and raising Henry on my own. She said that taking in another child, especially one with a difficult background, would add stress and might affect my ability to provide for Henry properly. She didn't say it outright, but I could tell she's afraid this might make life harder for all of us, including Archie. I understand her concerns. Honestly, I do. But I can't imagine just turning him away when he needs help the most. I told her that I haven't made a final decision yet, but that I need to think about what's best for everyone involved, not just what's easiest. And I haven't even discussed any of this with Henry yet, which will be a huge factor in my final decision. This has been a huge rant, and if you've read it, thank you. I just needed to get this out somehow. And there are some comments, some relevant comments. DFPHD says, couple of thoughts. It's 4 years. Like, obviously, kids need support well beyond 18 if you can provide it. But if you can get that kid to graduate high school, you would already be a saint and nothing more could be expected of you. So it's not forever. Also, once that kid is 16, he can start working and help around the house more legitimately. Both things are not just for your benefit, but also great things for him to learn. Ask social services what additional resources you'd have access to if you were to foster. For example, here where I live, foster kids qualify for free school lunches. So that's a cost you don't have to incur. I would also find a local foster parent group, as I'm sure there are other resources available that may not even be ran by the state. Real talk, if it was me, I would do it as long as I didn't think that Archie would be a danger to Henry. Like, unless you think Archie could be violent, etc. Something like that. That makes a lot of sense.
That makes sense.
Yeah, because that is a difficulty with taking in foster kids. It's like, because they come from a difficult home, they obviously have difficult behavior that might show up.
And frameworks they approach things.
Yeah, and like coping mechanisms for emotions and stuff like that. So that can come up. If he's a good kid, I would do everything in my power to make that happen. I would set up a GoFundMe if necessary. I would try to lean on my friends and family to help. Also, depending on what your job is, I would ask if they can help in any way. I say this as someone who works for a giant company. Yes, I would worry, but a 14-year-old kid in foster care is not something I'd be able to let happen to a kid I care about. Another comment, Caffeine Please, says, I'm a single dad to 2 foster children. Started much the same way. Was asked to take in a youth of a friend of the family's. I've been fostering for a few years now. It's by far one of the best decisions I've ever made.
Oh, wow.
That's great. Oh my gosh.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Heck yeah, it's an adjustment, but it's doable. Granted, I'm in Canada and can only speak for the agency I work with, but they've been great about helping with supports needed. There is funding for food, clothing, Christmas, and birthdays. You can get them to approve a certain number of paid respite hours per week. I have a respite worker for 25 hours per week, which I'm sure as a single parent you can understand is a huge help. And all the youth I've taken in over the last couple of years are always extremely grateful for a stable home. That said, if you decide it's not for you, there's no shame. But if you do decide to do it, I assure you it's worth it. It's obvious you care about the kid, which is probably already more than he's used to. Props to you for considering it. There is an update, so let's just get right into it.
Yeah, and let us know in the comments, would you foster this child or not?
Yeah, what do you think? Update. I just wanted to come on and give an update. I want to say a huge thank you for all the responses. I genuinely didn't expect to receive so many replies, especially to something that was just meant to be a rant to get my emotions out. When I was asked to take in Archie, at first I felt honored. Then I felt worried about everything. I'm quite an anxious person in general, and my thoughts were flooded with concerns about whether I'd be good enough to support Archie in the way he needs. I love my mom, but she didn't help. I think I get my anxiety from her, although she has it on a much higher scale than I do. Every possible thing that could go wrong, she was texting me about all week. You're already stretched thin with work, and Henry, you won't get one-on-one time with Henry anymore? How will you afford everything? These are real concerns, and I'm glad she brought them up because they gave me the opportunity to think about how I could mitigate them. A few of you mentioned the fostering allowance, which I knew about, but I couldn't find any concrete information on how much it would actually be. Every source online seemed to give a difficult answer, but none suggested it was very much. However, as some of you advised, I called the social worker's office and said I was seriously considering taking in Archie, which they were thrilled about. But I needed to understand the finances first to see if it was feasible. They said they couldn't provide exact numbers as every case is different and it isn't decided until a placement is found. However, they told me the minimum would be around 190 euros, about $240 US per week, and that it would likely be completely tax-free. Additionally, I'd receive a significant discount on things like council tax. That was honestly a lot more than I expected and much higher than most of the figures I'd seen online. They also put me in touch with some of the other foster carers who answered my questions, which was incredibly helpful. This week has been very busy. I worked out my finances, added the estimate fostering allowance, and calculated how much Archie would likely increase my expenses. It worked out that I'd actually have a surplus compared to my current situation. Many of the foster carers I spoke to don't work full-time, using the allowance to supplement their income. I'm not sure if I want to do that, but they mentioned it helps to work part-time since fostering involves a lot of work, meetings, reports, and other responsibilities. On top of that, I'd need to complete training during the first year to become fully qualified. I considered that, and with the additional allowance, I could move to a 0.6 contract, working 3 days per week, while still covering the costs of moving to a 3-bedroom house. While that would leave me with a slightly less disposable income, it wouldn't be a significant reduction. I've spoken with my work and they said they would support me if I decided to do this, but I haven't made my final decision. I don't want it to seem like I'm taking advantage of Archie's allowance. After sorting out the finances, I needed to talk to Henry. This was honestly the most important part of my decision. If Henry said no, I would struggle to go ahead with it. I took him out and explained the situation. I didn't go into details of why Archie is going into care, as it's not my story to tell, even though Archie himself has been open about his rough home life. I discussed the potential changes, less one-on-one time, less privacy, at least in the short term while we find a bigger house, and so on. Henry was incredibly supportive. He said that he and Archie had talked about how they both wished Archie could come and live with us. I told him not to mention anything to Archie yet until I had the chance to speak with him, and he agreed. Yesterday, I arranged for social services to come over. Archie, his social worker, and I sat down to talk. They told Archie that he was going to be placed in foster care. Archie cried a lot. I cried a lot, and he asked to see his mom, which the social worker said that they'd arrange as soon as possible. In that moment, Archie didn't seem like a teenager. He seemed like a small child whose world was crumbling. And they asked Archie if he'd want to stay with me. Although he was still distraught about being in care, he said he'd love to stay with me. We discussed what it would mean and how it would affect us. Afterward, Archie and his social worker spoke privately, and then the social worker and I talked. They expressed how thrilled they were about my decision and said that they were pleased I planned to move to a bigger house soon, as Archie would need his own space, which I fully agree with. Normally, the boys spend most of their time upstairs playing Xbox, but later that day, Archie came down and asked if we could watch a movie together. He sat next to me, rested his head on my shoulder, and said, "Thank you for letting me stay with you." Writing this, I can feel tears welling up in my eyes again. I put my arm around him and said I'd always be there for him. By the way, we will always be there for you with stories just like this. Just go to Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or your favorite podcast app. Just search OK Storytime. You can see more stories like this. Today, Archie seems a little down, which is entirely understandable. I honestly expected him to take it harder than he has. To cheer him up, we're going to see the new Lion King movie, even though I hate those live action films, but this is for Archie. And then going out to eat, letting the boys choose where. I might return in a few months to give an update on how things are going. For now, I'm just hoping that everything will be okay. I know the first few months will be the hardest. If you guys have any experience fostering or a similar situation like this, or just supporting comments, comment down below because he's amazing. But that is the end of the story.
My boyfriend received a sweater from his female friend with her face on it.
That's such a thoughtful gift.
Boyfriend told me his best friend wanted to get awkward family photos taken at a department store while wearing ugly Christmas sweaters. Fine by me. Fun little thing for them to do. But today he calls and tells me she gave him the sweater they were going to wear, and it's a custom-made sweater with her dogs and her face on it. By the way, this comes from you, Throwaway 4738297, and if you want to submit your own stories, go to our OK Storytime subreddit. So, he made it clear he didn't know about it and doesn't want me to feel like he's wearing another woman's face, like he loves her, but more like he loves her dogs.
You know what? If I saw a person wearing a sweater with someone else's face, I don't think my immediate thought would be, oh my God, he's in
I
love
would
with
say
her.
there's love. It wouldn't be like he's in love with her or like infatuated. It's like, oh, yeah, they're friends.
Threw us both off as it's extra. We talked about this girl multiple times, my feelings about them and boundaries. He only recently changed her name in his phone as half girlfriend.
Oh no, sir, that's not an inside joke.
And it also upset his ex, and it took me telling him it made me uncomfortable for him to change it. I know he sees me as a priority over her, but I can't help but feel uncomfortable about this. Am I the O-hole?
Overreacting. No, you're not overreacting.
You're not the O-hole.
You're not the O-hole, and you're not overreacting.
So I read this to my boyfriend, and both of us audibly said, ew, when we read that your boyfriend had changed her name to half-girlfriend. They're clearly emotionally involved. It doesn't matter if he doesn't take it seriously. She most likely has feelings for him, and it's inappropriate even if he doesn't feel the same. I would not be with a partner whom I changed their best friends of the opposite sex name to half-girlfriend. I disagree. Commenter 2. Half-girlfriend? This is weird. Frankly, I'm surprised you're still in this relationship, but that's coming from someone who's dealt with the girl best friend before. As a woman with very good long-term friends who are men, some who are single, some married or in long-term relationships, this is very weird and obviously inappropriate. So don't gaslight yourself or let yourself be told that it's super normal and you're just being crazy. LOL. It's blatantly disrespectful to you and the relationship, and the friend. The girl knows that, which even if she did like him, she would be respectful, so she sucks. And if he sucks for not maintaining boundaries, he's not going to be able to have a healthy update like this. All right, update. All right, January 1st, 2025, same day, 19 hours later. I really didn't expect my first post to get the response it did. Wow. But here's an update on the situation. Last night, I worked New Year's Eve while my boyfriend had the night off. He was going to get the Christmas photos taken with his best friend, but when they realized the store was closed, they just went over to her place to hang out. He looked me in the eyes before I left and told me he wasn't going to drink, but when I called him after I got out of work, he was wasted, as his best friend told him to do shots. He's gotten wasted at her place before and stayed the night without telling me beforehand, so I really didn't know if he was planning on staying or not. I was upset, and he could tell and asked me to pick him up, except it would be an hour worth of driving for me after an extra day of work to go pick him up. Thankfully, someone gave him a ride home. I have a question. After the last time it's happened, that he got drunk at his best friend's place and stayed the night, did OP put down a boundary and say, I'm not comfortable with you doing that again?
We don't know for sure, but it does seem like she kind of, it seems like she brought up that it made her uncomfortable, because it doesn't seem like she's had a problem in the past of like saying, hey, this is making me uncomfortable. I don't like when you did that.
I ended up going home, calling a friend of mine and talking things through. He agreed that the sweater thing was weird, and the time I'm on the phone, my boyfriend calls me 5 times. I eventually hang up and call my boyfriend. He's crying and a mess, and I could barely understand him. So I get up to go see him. I've had a history of bad panic attacks, and I know how bad they are and didn't want him to be alone. He had a mental health episode and kept spewing self-hate and asking me what I saw in him not living up to his potential, on top of a lot of other things that I didn't understand in the exhaustion, wastedness. I let him stay the night at my place because I knew he didn't want to be alone, and I was worried about him. But soon after we got home, he threw his empty vape across the room and started beating his fist on the couch and yelling, complaining about a game. I was getting incredibly concerned because I'd never seen him act like this. He almost immediately passed out after the outburst, though. Yeah, it's just not looking good.
No.
He doesn't know what's been going on, but his mental health has been in a bad space lately. Last week, we got in a bad fight while we were wasted with yelling and crying. We talked things through, and I figured we'd talk things through when we woke up, but I already wanted to send him home and him be alone with his violent behavior. But he started crying when I brought it up. He spent most of the day sick in the bathroom. He said he only did 2 shots all night. So I'm not sure if he's lying or if he just ended up with a stomach bug and a bad time. At one point, he was in the bathroom and his phone wouldn't stop ringing. After the 3rd phone call, I got up to look, and the call was from the half-girlfriend, his friend, his best friend. The moment he came back out, I told him he was leaving and he was single and I would be ordering a lift from home. You were all right that the half-girlfriend thing was the big red flag, as weird as the sweater was. It hurt me the first time he said it, and we discussed it, and he said it was a joke, but promised he understood and would change it in his phone. When I brought it up to him, he said that she had asked him to change it back. So he did. I told him he'd chosen her over me.
I think that is true. I think
You're making it hard for me to defend you.
Yeah, I think the fact that she asked you to do it, or like OP asked you to change it, you agreed and then changed it back. Pretty messed up.
So the history behind the name is that my boyfriend used to live with her and her ex was so terrible that by comparison, my boyfriend was better to her, and so she would call him her half boyfriend.
So the inside joke is that he acted like her boyfriend?
My boyfriend actually had asked her out in the past, but she rejected him, saying they were better off as friends, and he agreed, saying he didn't want to date her.
Okay.
But you can date us by listening to full episodes with stories like this. Just go to Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or your favorite podcast app and search OK Storytime. There's another relevant update, but let's discuss.
Yeah. And so my thought is there's no way that he was like, yeah, you're totally right. I don't actually want to date you. I bet it was like, he was like, hey, like, I would love to ask you out. And she was like, sorry, I think we're better off as friends. He was like, yeah, me too. That was a trick.
I didn't want to date
Why would
you.
I date you?
Disgusting.
It's like, I love you so much. Yeah, as friends? Yeah. As
He's
friends.
like, do you want to kiss? And she's like, no, we're better off as friends. He's like, I meant the chocolate.
Obviously, though, she has no respect for me or for my relationship, and I can't trust my boyfriend when he's around her, so he's no longer my boyfriend. I'm a bit of a mess right now, to be honest. I'm exhausted from dealing with him and not sleeping because of it, and all of this is made it worse by the fact we work together, and our coworkers have been very supportive. But I feel like I made the right choice in breaking up. Here's to starting off 2025 single. Relevant comments.
Listen, girl, 2025 started off really bad. Come on.
Yeah, just overall bad.
Yeah.
It's okay.
It's not
We're
you.
all in this together.
It's not you. It's 2025.
Comments are number 1. Great choice dumping him, OP. Now make it a complete 100% no contact going forward. OOP, I work with him, LOL, so not possible, but it's going to be very limited contact. OOP on her age and her ex's age. OOP, LMAO, I'm almost 28, he's 24, and I realize I'm too old for this crap. I strongly suggest that you find a new job ASAP so that you could go full no contact. Your mental health will thank you. OOP. Unfortunately, I now work with 2 exes, and this is the best place to work in my industry within the city. It might be uncomfortable, but I'm not giving up a good job for a boy. Additional comments from OOP after reading everyone's comments. OOP, first off, thank you for all the comments. I'm still emotional, but I'm doing better. I feel confident I made the right choice. Some general information in regards to comments, though. Those of you that have guessed he would come crawling back have already proven correct. Yeah, because you broke up with him when he was drunk, so he's like, wakes up, forgot it all, and was like, hey, babe.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, he's crawling back.
Unbelievable. Yeah, honestly, I will give you that. He probably doesn't remember this conversation. It doesn't seem like it was like necessarily the most straightforward breakup. It sounded like you said you don't have a girlfriend anymore.
He texted me that he's feeling better physically at least and wants to do better for me. I told him I like to have a real conversation. Okay, good. I only want to talk to give us, or more so me, the dignity of closure and to end things like adults, especially with us working together. I really don't have any desire to get back with him. I generally don't think he's mature enough for an adult relationship, and there's too many changes that need to happen for me to be happy with him. I wish the best for him, but I don't feel like I need to be there waiting for his progress. To the people that said, don't date coworkers, I know it's a bad idea, but unfortunately my industry has a lot of in-dating, and sleeping around with coworkers is incredibly common.
What's your
work
industry?
is this? Do you work in a restaurant? Hard to meet other people when you work nights, weekends, holidays. I think she works in a restaurant. He was a good friend of mine before we even started dating, and I actually already liked him for a while, so I made a calculated decision, but God, am I bad at math. I generally don't think he got drugged. He's more a lightweight with booze, and he was also smoking that night, but I do think he may have drank more than he let on or did some substances that he knows I wouldn't approve of. The girl's roommate and mom, I guess, he never elaborated on that, was also present, so I don't think anything criminal happened. I genuinely don't think he cheated either. He's stupid and bad with boundaries, but he's loyal. At the very least, I like to believe he didn't cheat, as my last relationship ended with cheating, and I really don't want to think it's happened twice. Additional info is that he admitted to mixing up mine and her names all night, which just adds on to the pile of red flags. Why? You don't have to admit that.
Yeah.
I don't think it's like keeping a secret from your partner.
Yeah,
just
I don't
be
think
like,
you have to be. Yeah, I
I
don't
was
think
doing something weird.
It's like, hey, oh my God, I was calling you her name all night. My best friend confessed that she only befriended me to steal my boyfriend.
She's just monologuing like,
Yeah,
I just
she's like,
plan all along.
All along I schemed. I am 23, female, lived in a 2-bed, 2-bath apartment with my boyfriend, 21 male. Let's call him Jack. Our relationship certainly wasn't perfect, but I had serious rose-colored glasses for its entirety. By the way, this comes from Stunning Trust 9933, and if you want to submit your own stories, go to r/OK Storytime subreddit. So, we had been dating for about a year when we started going to a gaming lounge in our city. We're big gamers. While there, we made a few friends and started hanging out at their houses, where we met one of the guy's girlfriends, 19 female, I think. I honestly don't remember. Let's call her Ivy. Side note, her name was the name of my favorite flower. Obviously, I changed the name for the story, so let's just pretend my favorite flower is Ivy. I've always struggled with making friends. I have severe anxiety, especially in social situations, but ironically, I'm an extrovert. And I've always gotten along better with men than women. I honestly don't know why. With that being said, I don't have a lot of female friends. However, I thought Ivy was really pretty, and I really wanted a female friend that I could hang out with and do girly things together. So I took a deep breath and started a conversation with her. We talked for a bit and really seemed to hit it off as friends. It wasn't long after that we became best friends. There eventually got to a point where she broke up with the guy she was with, and since she had been living with him, she had to move out. I decided to allow her to move in with Jack and me, since I'm a bleeding heart and a people pleaser. And I thought it would be fun to live together. I would later realize that was a huge mistake. Another bit of context here before I continue. I am a curvy woman. I always have been, and I am plus-sized. At the time, about an XL. I have always had bad self-esteem because I struggle with losing weight, and I never felt I could be truly beautiful unless I had a flat stomach. Ivy, on the other hand, was really skinny. Also, I am pan-romantic. I will admit the time we spent together initially was great. We were constantly hanging out, making TikToks, watching YouTube, and buying matching clothes. She boosted my confidence and made me feel so beautiful. My self-esteem issues actually started to dim a lot. It got to the point that I actually did start getting romantic feelings for her.
Ooh.
Wait, but no, OB is a boyfriend.
Oh, shoot. Right now?
Yeah, they're living together, right?
I thought she was living together with Ivy.
And Jack, her boyfriend.
Oh, then that's a problem. That's a problem.
Soon, she admitted to having feelings for me too, as well as Jack. She convinced me and Jack to enter into a poly relationship with her. Okay, well, never mind.
Okay, well,
Solved.
yeah.
Solved that problem.
Yeah.
Now, I will say this relationship only lasted about a week. She ended up saying she wasn't ready to enter another relationship, which I respected. But not long after that, Jack started to become a bit more distant from me.
Uh-oh.
He didn't kiss me with the same passion as before, and I was getting scared. Then, at the beginning of November, we had a talk in my car, and we broke up.
Whoa.
He said we both needed to work on ourselves. I was devastated because I really thought I was going to marry this guy, but I said okay, and we moved on. We were still living together because I knew that if I moved out, Jack and Ivy would be screwed because I was the only one with a stable job. This is such a complicated living.
This really is.
Like, Jack and OP are living together as a couple. Ivy moves in.
Yeah.
They start dating. Although it's only a week, it's still like that's something that should have been hashed out more.
It sounds like a sitcom
Yeah.
kind of thing.
Oh, this sounds messy.
Yeah.
Messy, messy, messy. Ivy always said she needed to work on her mental health before she could get a job. And while, yes, Jack did have a job at the time, he ended up losing it not long after the breakup. He wasn't making enough to be able to pay the rent on his own. Again, I'm a bleeding heart, and I was still in love with him at this point since the breakup was fresh, and I had hope of getting back together with him. Well, I would say about a week later, Jack came into my room in the middle of the night, sobbing. Immediately, I sat up to see what was wrong. He admitted to me that he had been cheating on me with Ivy between the time the poly relationship ended and our breakup.
Wow. Oh, wow. Oh, wow. That's
Exhausting.
crazy.
He apologized profusely, and I hugged him and told him I forgave him. Why?
Yeah, you
guys
don't
already
need to
broke
forgive
up.
right
You don't
away.
have to forgive him.
Yeah.
I know that was but in the moment, I thought that this was why he broke up with me. And I hoped that if I showed him I wasn't angry, we could get back together.
OP, you poor thing. Bless your heart.
Well, that didn't happen. Yeah. Around Thanksgiving, Jack and Ivy became an official couple. And not long after that, we found out that Ivy was pregnant with Jack's baby.
Oh, wow.
Ah! Wait. Ah!
Wowee.
Oh my goodness.
Wowee.
I honestly had a series of mixed feelings surrounding this. Yeah! I felt so betrayed that Ivy had essentially stolen the man I loved and got pregnant with his baby. But since she was my best friend, I was also happy for her, while also wishing I was the one in her shoes, even though I never wanted to have a baby until I was married. Girl, why are you friends with these people?
Get out of there. Get a new place if you can, please.
Please leave both Jack and Ivy.
Please.
They cheated on you.
Yeah, this is
What?
not. This is the kind of people that you go no contact with immediately. I know it's weird because the living situation makes it very difficult, but
Leave
please.
them. You have the money. I also felt betrayed by Jack because it didn't take him long to get into another relationship. No, he was in another relationship during your relationship.
Yeah, that's really not a long time.
Even though he said he needed to work on himself first, he was lying.
Yeah.
He cheated on you. He was lying.
Oh yeah. Exactly.
I tried so hard to hide my emotions and just be happy for them, but then Ivy changed. Girl, stop being happy for them. Leave them.
Yeah.
She began making incredibly mean comments to me. I honestly can't remember all of them, but she would constantly berate me for certain things, such as the fact that I did wish I was in her shoes. I think at one point she accused me of wanting to steal her baby just because I said I would love the baby as if it were my own when I talked about helping to take care of it.
Oh, wow.
Mind you, I was also paying for prenatal vitamins and other things for Ivy. She got upset when she saw me sitting on the couch with a blanket on me that technically belonged to Jack, even though the only reason I was using it was because it was within reach and I was cold. Later, I found out from Jack that she was calling me a fat cow to her other friend. Let's call her Vanessa. Eventually, she went from being my best friend to emotionally abusing me, and even though I knew I was being mistreated, I felt I couldn't leave because I felt an obligation to help Jack and in turn Ivy.
Why?
Why?
There's no
Why?
reason that you don't owe these people anything. They literally schemed
cheated on
and
you.
cheated, and now they're having a baby, which is not your business at all. That's totally their stuff.
You
You do not have to do anything.
Need so much therapy, OP.
Yeah.
You do not need to be in this situation.
Yeah.
Oh, God. The worst part was that Jack never defended me. Of course not. He cheated on you. And then he's having a baby with the person he cheated on you with.
Yeah.
He doesn't care about you.
He doesn't. I'm sorry to say, OP.
Unfortunately,
He doesn't.
it's and you deserve much better, but he
Right.
does not care about you.
Yeah.
He would always just stay quiet whenever Ivy started on her BS, so I was alone. The self-esteem that had built inside me during the time we were friends had disappeared. My anxiety got worse, and I went from being mildly depressed to majorly. I was crying almost every night because of and the grief of breaking up with Jack. I wasn't posting TikToks on my account because I had lost all inspiration and motivation. It was like heck on earth, and yet I still tried to be good to both of them. I got good presents for both of them at Christmas, and I was there for them when they needed. It wasn't until I visited my parents that changed. I don't remember what I was visiting my parents for, but while I was there, I ended up spilling about everything that was going on. I just couldn't keep it inside anymore. They both encouraged me to get out of there because of the but I told them I couldn't because of the rent. That's not true.
Yeah.
You're paying for the rent.
Right.
They can figure it out. Eventually, though, they put their foot down and gave me an exact date of when they would come to the apartment, help me pack all my stuff, and move me into my sister's house. Good on your parents.
Mm-hmm.
I was absolutely panicked by this, but there was nothing I could do. So that day came and went. I couldn't even look at Jack or Ivy as it was happening because I felt so ashamed. I felt like I was abandoning them. You need so much therapy, OP.
Yes. Yes.
The only thing I said to Jack was to please let me know if I left anything behind and to put it aside for me to pick up later. I tried to stay in contact with Jack during this time. No, I didn't really speak to him outside of rehearsals. We were participating in a community theater musical production that started before we broke up.
More connections to these people. Oh my goodness.
And I tried to be civil with Ivy. Jack always brought her with, but she was still towards me. After the production was over, Jack and I pretty much did not talk at all. However, in February of 2022, Jack reached out to me via text. They always do. He talked with me about how things weren't going well in his relationship with Ivy.
And he comes crawling back.
And you know what you say? Nothing. You don't respond.
That's right.
She was apparently constantly leaving the apartment to hang out with Vanessa, not wanting him to tag along, and oftentimes not coming home until very late. He was constantly worried about her. Since I still cared about Jack, I tried my best to give advice or even just comfort him. It was apparently getting really bad for him too. The stress Ivy was putting him through was causing his body to not allow him to eat or sleep. At one point while he was texting me, I got scared that he might do something so I asked him where he was. He wasn't at the apartment, and I immediately headed over there. We talked and hung out when suddenly he got a text from Ivy. She was breaking up with him. Yes, this girl broke up with him via text message.
Whoa.
She also said she was going to get rid of the baby. This obviously caused Jack to spiral. He immediately began sobbing, and I did my best to comfort him. After a while, he asked me to come back to the apartment with him to be there when Ivy came to pick up her stuff. No!
No.
No! I agreed and went straight to the apartment. No! When we got there, we saw something on her bed that made us both mad. Back before we met Ivy, Jack and I had gone to a store, and while there, I found a box set of replica jewelry from the Harley Quinn Birds of Prey movie. It was limited edition, I believe about 5,000 in existence, and it was only about $100. I was hesitant to get it because of the price, but Jack convinced me to. Well, I had apparently accidentally left this at the apartment when moving out. We found the box open on Ivy's bed with some of the jewelry missing. According to Jack, Ivy had apparently found the box and hid it away in her closet, hoping that I would forget about it completely. I guess she and Vanessa decided to wear some of the jewelry that day. Immediately, Jack texted Ivy telling her that she better bring back all the jewelry items undamaged or she wouldn't be getting any of her stuff. Then he also took her favorite stuffed bear, a gift from a family member, as collateral, but didn't let her know about it. Eventually, Ivy and Vanessa arrived. I was sitting on the couch, so they didn't see me at first. They gave back the jewelry, more like threw it back, and luckily none of it was damaged. Jack handed me the jewelry, and when Ivy saw me, the first words out of her mouth as she walked past Jack to her room were, "I see you brought the witch along."
Literally, what did she do? What did she do to you guys? What did she do? Nothing. Nothing is the correct answer to that.
OP, I'm sad and also mad at you. These people are horrible. They're nightmare people.
Yeah.
And they're just going to continue to you if you continue to be around them.
Yeah, it's a hard thing to swallow. And it's hard to come to that realization. And I'm so sorry that you're so actively involved in these people's lives and so in such complicated ways. But you know what you have to do.
Yeah.
You know how to get out of this. You know that that's the best decision to make. So do yourself a favor and just leave it all behind, rip the Band-Aid off.
Agreed.
You can do it.
I didn't say anything, partially because I was scared, but also because I knew she was wrong. I wasn't the witch. She packed up her stuff, which was one box and a couple of bags. However, the box ended up being too heavy for her to carry. Too bad. She needed help, but Jack was refusing to let Vanessa into the apartment any further than she already was. And Ivy was refusing to have Jack help because she felt he was going to drop it on purpose and break her stuff.
Oh my god.
It was a bit of an impasse. I didn't want Ivy to be here any longer than necessary, so I stood up, walked over, and in a sweet, soft voice, I said, "Ivy, would you like me to help you move your stuff? I promise I won't break any of it." Why are you here? Why are you here?
Sometimes people are crappy people and they can have crappy situations and you don't have to be involved with that. You don't have to help them. Not at all.
She looked at me with disdain, but eventually said, "Okay." So I dragged the box to the doorway because it was too heavy for me to pick up on my own. When I got there, Vanessa helped me pick it up to bring it out to Vanessa's car. Vanessa actually tried to sweet talk me, saying she was sorry she threw my jewelry and that she didn't hate me. I smiled, hugged her, and told her it was okay, but I didn't actually believe a word that came out of her mouth. I had already been informed by other people that she was just as manipulative as Ivy, but I wasn't going to let her know that. Finally, Ivy and Vanessa left. I will say I was impressed with Jack because even though he was fuming, it was very obvious how angry he was. He never raised his voice the entire time they were there. I don't care about Jack. He cheated on you. And then he never stood up for you.
Someone yelling because they're mad isn't like necessarily okay. You know what I mean? Like, it's understandable in some situations, but like, you know, it's always best to have a kind of calm reaction, even if you're angry, kind of manage your anger. So
it's
being impressed that someone's not
the
doing
bar
that,
is so low.
Yeah, exactly. It's, you just, like, no.
After that, I knew he definitely needed my help. So I stayed at the apartment with him, encouraging him to eat and drink whenever he could and pretty much nursing him back to health, since he was very malnourished and sleep deprived. I don't remember exactly when this conversation took place, but I know it wasn't long after Ivy left. Jack ended up telling me that Ivy had admitted to him that she never liked me in the first place. Why is Jack telling you this? She said she pretended to be my best friend because she wanted to get with Jack. Something inside me snapped at that moment. This girl had lifted me up, had made me feel confident, had made me believe she cared about me, even loved me, and it was all a lie. She had planned to steal my boyfriend from the moment I spoke to her. In that moment, all the heartbreak, the betrayal, and the feelings of hurt from a and mixed and boiled into a burning hatred for Ivy. It was the first time I ever felt true hate in my life. I was so mad I wanted to break something, but I managed to control myself enough to just punt the leg of the couch instead. Jack helped me calm down from it. Well, now back to the present day. Ivy actually did try to reach out to me once to reconcile, and I almost gave in. But luckily, my friends knocked me out of that idea. Good. So I just blocked her and said, good. Sadly, the trauma inflicted on me from this whole situation left me pretty scarred. Anytime I saw her out in public, I would immediately have a panic attack. Even the thought of possibly running into her caused immense anxiety for me. It has also been hard for me to look at my favorite flower the same way again. Later, when I finally decided to go to therapy, I was diagnosed with severe anxiety disorder, major depressive disorder, and mild PTSD. I've been on meds for it, and I've gotten a lot better. I don't know if I would say I'm completely healed yet, but I think I'm getting there. I also ended up moving out of the city, partially to find a better job since the job market was terrible, but also to get away from Ivy. But I did get some information about what's going on in her life. She never got rid of the baby, and after about, I think, a year or two of having the baby, social services took the baby away from her.
Oh, wow.
Jack isn't on the birth certificate. She had her ex sign it instead, so they didn't have the baby live with him. Instead, the baby is living with a woman that Ivy always considered as a second mom, who Jack says is a nice person. Ivy ended up moving away with her new boyfriend, not the ex that signed the birth certificate, to a different state, and he ended up being towards her, so I guess she got some karma there. Okay, well, I think we just need to not pay attention to Ivy anymore. I will say, though, this has me with mixed feelings. I would never wish on anyone, but I don't feel sorry for Ivy in this situation. Am I wrong for that? Does that make me a bad person? And you would never be a bad person if you listen to full episodes of stories just like this. Just go to Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or iHeartRadio and search up OK Storytime. There's a little bit left of the story, but honestly, you just need to stop, block Ivy, stop talking to Jack.
Yeah.
Get these people out of your life.
Yeah. Unfortunately, at this point, you don't have much of a life of your own.
No.
It's very much centered around all of these people. I'm sure you've got other things going on too, but this seems like, we're biased. This is all we know. But
you know a lot about this situation.
Yeah.
That you're not involved in.
You're not. Even if someone needs your help, you don't deserve to
have to be, put through interacting with people who hurt you.
Yeah, you're not responsible for helping them, even if they need help in general, but it does not have to be from you.
No,
and I know you're close to them. Yeah, I know you're close to them. I know that you've had feelings and stuff and all of this history, but you deserve to walk away and you deserve to move on because you can't help everyone in the world, right? There's going to be all of these people in the world that you could have a connection with, that you could find care for and stuff, that also happen to be terrible, manipulative people. And you aren't going to help everyone, so help no one.
It also seems like a Jack never really apologized.
Yeah.
Or at least that OP's told us. He said, he came to her and said, oh, she's being Ivy's being awful to me, but we never got, I'm so sorry for what we, cheating on you.
Yeah, well, she did say that at first he was apologizing a lot, but when someone's coming to you like this and apologizing and sobbing for it, they're kind of putting themselves in a position to be comforted.
Exactly.
When they're the ones that should be comforting you. And which is exactly what happened. OP went to him and comforted him and just was basing her actions off of the possibility that they could still get together. And that's never what you want to do.
Nope.
Ever.
But there is more to the story. Whatever, I guess. I'm just trying to focus on my own life now. I now live alone, still single, but I'm living in a city I've always enjoyed being in, and I have a job that I love. It does get a little lonely now and then, but I have a lot of good friends online I talk to. Jack and I are still very good friends. I got over the relationship while accepting that I will always hold a special place for him in my heart, but we now see each other more as family. Jack is also now happily engaged, and I couldn't be happier for him. Comment 1 says, the way you blame Ivy for everything but let Jack get away with everything doesn't sit right. Comment 2, so it was never about Jack, it's about you. She's obsessed with you. Everything she did centered around hurting you. When she didn't get the reaction she wanted from taking your boyfriend, all of a sudden, Jack became useless. And if you maybe think her behavior has something to do with you, I don't think so. Ivy maybe is just a type of person who thrives on other people's misery.
Yeah.
Oh my.
Yeah,
Oh,
that
man.
definitely is another thing too, is like, she's so angry at Ivy, but is not expressing any anger
No.
towards Jack. But he is absolutely in the wrong for so many things.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Did so many bad things.
But I'm glad you're in therapy.
Yeah.
Glad you're going through it.
Stay there.
I'm glad Jack is engaged to someone else.
Same.
So, there's baby steps here.
Yeah.
I'm glad.
But that is the end of that story.
I caught my wife's friends talking about her affair partner in a group chat, so I punted her out.
Go.
Yeah. That's a field goal. Background. My wife is an avid skier. She tries to ski every chance she gets, which is often multiple times a week. I'm very supportive of this, and it seems like a good way for her to relieve stress and generally makes her happier. By the way, this comes from Skiing Wife Throwaway, and if you want to submit your own stories, go do it at the r/OKStorytime subreddit. She's made multiple close friendships through this hobby, male and female. And some weekends, they take ski trips to resorts out of town. I ski sometimes, but I'm not an enthusiast, and this group wants to tackle a lot of challenging runs that I'm not capable of at my current skill level. Also, in the off-season, they do other activities to maintain their fitness. None of this has ever been a problem until recently. A few months ago, my wife went trail running with a guy, 45 male, named Josh, who was new to the group. I didn't know she was going alone until after she came back. I found that a little unusual since she usually goes with a couple of her girlfriends and maybe one other guy. Also, she had never really done this activity before. The next thing that happened I thought was unusual was when she had the vid and was isolating from me. She wanted to watch a movie on Amazon Prime, and I told her to bring me her laptop so I could take care of the two-factor authentication stuff. When I was using her laptop, she seemed cagey and agitated and was hovering a little too close to me, considering we were supposed to be isolating. At this time, I noticed she was looking at a love horoscope for her sign and Josh in one of her recently closed tabs. That didn't sit right with me, and I was stewing about it. My wife noticed and asked why I was upset, so I confronted her. She told me the horoscope thing was just a curiosity, and that she looks it up for other people as well. I find this hard to believe. She offered me her phone to look through her messages, and I went through them. There were a lot of messages for a chain text that started only a couple of months ago, probably more than we exchanged in the same period. Mostly her sending him memes and friendly back and forth. To me, it seemed excessive, and it looked like she was going out of her way to keep a conversation going with Josh. There was also a provocative exchange that she made that went something like this. Josh, I would do bad things for some lasagna. Wife? Oh, like what? Josh, I don't know, like steal it? Wife? That's not what I was thinking. That's what I get when my mind is in the gutter. Josh, an emoji, I'm not sure what it is. Josh sent an emoji. To me, this looks like an unsuccessful attempt by her to escalate the conversation, but Josh, to his credit, doesn't bite. When I saw this, I pointed it out, and she took blame for it and said she shouldn't have sent that. I'm shaking and very upset by all of this. My wife claims he's just one of the girls, and she isn't attracted to him because he's short and he's just a good friend. All of this reminded me of an emotional affair / spicy texting situation that I went through with my wife 10 years ago. We've been married for 20. We got through that, and I was hoping it was behind us. In response to this, I set up 2 boundaries. No more one-on-one events with Josh, and avoid the one-on-one texting. There's not usually a reason to text one-on-one when the same type of content can be shared in a group text. The next week, she said 2 of her girlfriends canceled on an event, and she asked if it was okay if she went alone with Josh. I told her, obviously not, because that was a boundary I set, and she was annoyed with me for saying no. She met with her therapist, and her therapist largely agreed with my point of view. She seemed to be less annoyed with me after that. I have been off and on depressed about all of this, and during that, she would ask me if there was anything she could do. I just asked her to follow the boundaries I've set. Cut to this last week. I asked her to check in on the boundaries I set. She admitted to texting with Josh again, and I asked to see her phone. There was a gap in the texting, but there were 6 or 7 consecutive days again with a lot of texting. Again, it's just benign texting, but it just seems kind of unnecessary. I don't think you need 3 days around Christmas to text Merry Christmas and start a conversation. I don't think you need to tell your single guy friend good night in the evening. She says that she was just giving him a resource for some technical safety gear, and she started doing it again. I'm very upset again, and I tell her she was ignoring a clearly set boundary. I'm not sure how we get past this as a couple. I find it really disrespectful and hurtful that she ignored this boundary, especially when she saw what it was doing to me. I found it very cruel. I talked to her about blocking contact with this person and ending the friendship so that we could move on. Considering that she already violated a clearly set boundary, I felt the need to escalate. She seemed open to that initially, but was indignant about it later on. I've asked her to apologize for ignoring the boundary and disrespecting me and the marriage, promise she won't do it again, and outline some steps to ensure it won't happen again. She seems to think I'm setting up an ultimatum on friendship, but I just want a path forward I can be comfortable with. She says she wasn't doing this to be cruel. She doesn't seem at all sorry to me. She says she has a deep connection with Josh, but again, they're just friends. The deep connection with Josh is so fishy to me.
Yeah.
I want some lasagna bad. Oh, what would you do for it? I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know. Steal, maybe?
Sorry, my mind's just in the gutter, I guess.
And like, if it was
Like-
like he asked it as a question, like, is that the right one? Would I?
Yeah.
I guess I would steal the lasagna.
I guess. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, whatever.
I wasn't. That was like a one-liner bit. I didn't want to continue that one. Like,
yeah. She doesn't want to end the friendship because she says she'll be outside the core group of enthusiasts at the activities that they've set up. My position is that my wife is acting inappropriately and disregarding my feelings by ignoring the boundary. I believe my wife loves me, but I also think she has a crush on this guy and is kind of acting on it and downplaying it. Am I overreacting? Am I being unreasonable? What should I do? There's an update.
John, we're going to get back to the story, but I got to tell you, I've been loving these pearls that I got in Colombia.
You are a delicious beaded man now.
I do feel more confident at the very least, but I think these pearls pale in the amount of confidence an OK Storytime membership can get you.
That's right. You get 60 plus hours a month of exclusive live stream content. That's advice that'll make you the best version of yourself.
It's only $5 a month, so go to the link in our description, youtube.com/OKOP show/join.
Crack open that oyster and get the blues. But let's get back to the story.
Here's the funny part before the rest. I had her read the original post to show how it looked to everyone. Her palms started to get so sweaty, it left a stain on the laptop. She didn't have a lot to say about it except, wow, this is a lot to process. We set up a counseling appointment to work on things. The working solution we had was that she would tell me when they texted each other. My wife was following through with that, and I thanked her every time. I also told her if she slipped up in some way to just acknowledge it, not delete messages and all that. The counseling session was lame. The counselor seemed like he was on autopilot and just wanted to get to the Gottman books. We set up a couple of future appointments. She had a work trip coming up. We went skiing the day before, and I took her to the airport and kissed her goodbye. I texted her from time to time, and she would send pictures of the things she was seeing, but seemed a little unresponsive. I figured she was just busy with everything going on, or maybe she's busy with Lasagna Boy. She never called me or our daughter. She would say she was taking a bath at the end of the night. I picked her up from the airport and brought her home, and she seemed distant. I had to ask for a hug. She went skiing the next day. So things were feeling weird, and I checked the phone bill, and lo and behold, she called Josh for an hour one night, and then he called her 2 other nights for a couple of hours. I checked her Facebook. The messages from her friends were talking about how he tried to kiss her at some point, but they hadn't cut him out of the group in any way. Also, one of her friends told her to delete messages and call logs before coming home as I might check them. Ugh, these are all garbage people. Yeah, gross. Gross, gross. Just a bunch of dirty, stinky banana peel people. I put her stuff in garbage bags and told her off when she got home. I told her she was a cheater, and the guy was a cheater, and that they deserved each other. She didn't have much to say because she couldn't even come up with a bad lie. Filled her car up and left. I'm astonished at how morally bankrupt she is, and her friends are as well. I've met these people. They know who I am and that I'm a decent guy. I just can't imagine encouraging someone to hide immoral behavior. Truly. I asked her from the start of this mess if she wanted to exit the relationship, and she said she wanted to work things out. She saw how much pain it was causing me, and she kept doing it. You think you know people. I believe she was playing me and the guy off of each other, hinting to him that our relationship wasn't solid and maybe someday they could be a couple, while also trying to reconcile with me. She is a narcissist, and this was feeding her ego. And by the way, you can feed our ego by listening to full episodes of stories like this, although we're not narcissists. All you have to do is go to Spotify or Apple Podcasts or wherever you get podcasts from and search OK Storytime. And you can have the time of your life listening to all the good advice in the world given goofily. And we do have a little bit of the story left. Honestly, I mean, are you on team? I mean, I'm on team divorce.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting because it's like they've been together for 20 years. And I know that changes your relationship. And like, you know, obviously you're like more committed and stuff, but like, I don't know. I've just heard that like marriage is just like different in how you approach problems like this. Like you're a little more, you've been together for so much longer, you're a little more committed to each other. So like it's possible for some of these things to be like overlooked again, or, you know, not overlooked, but just like worked through, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, it just doesn't feel like they're gonna come to a solution this way, you know? Like it just doesn't, because he might not be the only one. Like this could be, yeah, it was 10 years ago, the last one that we knew about, but maybe there was other stuff since then.
Yeah.
And this is the one time that he found out.
That's the problem, is it calls things like this call the entire relationship into question. It makes it like, how long have you been doing this? And then you go, oh, it hasn't, it never, this is the first time. And it's like, well, guess what? I can't trust you or believe you anymore because you've just been lying to me behind my back. Let's finish this story. The short term because I'm stressed and it's hurting my ability to sleep. Sorry if some of this doesn't make sense. I know I'll be better off in the long run, but it does right now, and that's true. It's pretty lame that she gets to shack up with this dirtbag, and I probably won't feel like dating for years. Anyway, once a cheater, always a cheater. Trust your gut. I should have told her to F off a long time ago. Hope I don't get destroyed in the divorce. And that is the end of that story.
Wow.
I have a feeling, unless you're in like one of those countries that I guess just doesn't see cheating as a impacting force in a divorce, like
or it makes divorce very difficult or something like that.
You should probably get favorable treatment, I would hope.
Yeah.
But OP, you are going to be better off in the long run. You are going to be better off in the long run. That does bring us to the end of that story and the end of this episode.
Wow.
So if you love us, make sure you subscribe.
We love you.
And see you tomorrow.